We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone that would like to participate? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll begin with roll call for the board members, starting with Joanne.
Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Joshua Douglas, Select Board.
Scott Ozana, Town Engineer.
Tim Redmond.
Colleen Mayu.
Tim Searles.
Barbara Griffin.
Richard Freeman.
David Pierce, I'm an alternate here tonight.
Thank you all. We have minutes. We have two sets of minutes. We have one that goes back to March 27th. Anybody would like to make a motion or action on those minutes?
I move to approve the meeting minutes of March 27th.
Second.
Any corrections or changes for the minutes from anyone? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. We also have minutes on the table, it looks like tonight, from April 10th. Are they too early for everyone to vote on tonight, or would you like to move them to the next meeting?
I'll make the motion, but I'll be abstaining on the vote. So.
Let's see if anybody would like to move them to the next meeting until they have time to read them, because they are on the table tonight for vote.
They did get emailed out this afternoon, but...
I'm sure everybody was glued to their email waiting to read the minutes this afternoon. I think we'll move them to the next meeting. So we'll act on them at our next meeting. Joanne, could you add them to correspondence and action items, please?
Sure.
Thank you very much. All right, do you have any other, we have, CIP is beginning. I'm going to chair as I did, and Jim Raymond has, would like to be a member at large. We need an appointment of James Raymond at this time. Does anybody want to do so? Make a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint James Raymond as a member at large for the CIP committee for the summer of 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Do you have anything else under correspondence and action items other than the letter that I'll mention in a second, Joanne?
We also have an appointment for Brad Parkhurst as a
Okay.
member at large for CIP.
So,
Did those get posted?
No, because we wanted to see if we had enough people first.
I'll make a motion to appoint Brad Parkhurst as member of CIP.
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. So is that the last of it, Joanne?
Yes, the remainder, 6, 7, and 8 all have to do with the vernal pool report. And then the last one is to see if anyone knows someone who would like to be appointed to Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission as an alternate. If not, we can post that.
That's a monthly meeting that can be attended by Zoom with certain restrictions. When they have a motion that they need to make, they need a quorum of the certain number of towns physically present. But in general, you would be able to attend by Zoom. It is a lunch meeting from 11:30 to 1.
All right, so if anybody has that time free and they'd like to volunteer for that, just check with Joanne, and we will appoint that person at the next monthly meeting, at our next bi-monthly meeting.
But I would say if you don't hear from anybody from the committee by next week, it probably ought to go online.
Okay.
Where is it held in person?
On Dubuque Street, off of Barney, off of Kelly in Manchester. So it's between Kelly and the,
Right after Shea Basham.
yeah.
A block away
So if anybody would like to, from this commission board, would like to speak to Joanne about it, do so. We'd appreciate it. It's good to have board members take the time to do it. Good way to learn.
from. And lunch is provided.
Lunch is
Incentive.
provided. There you go, free
There you
lunch.
go.
A meeting and a free lunch. Good luck.
Our-
Okay.
Our next meeting is May 8th, and we have 3 applications for that evening.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. All right, so we're going to go back to old business tonight. We're going to go back to map 6, lot 54 and 54-1. For the record, we have two correspondences from two abutters. Sheila Seidel from Acorn Drives, on the Acorn Drive Sageport Development. I don't know if I have her address, but it's Sheila Seidel sent in a written correspondence, which has been put into the record. And another correspondence, which from John Harnett, who spoke at the prior meetings, and his letter is in the record. There is new information on the table. Joanne, could you tell us what the new information on the table is regarding this application?
Yes. So we have a report from the Conservation Commission, did a site walk, I believe it was last Saturday. And we have a report from David Newman of the Conservation Commission regarding the vernal pools, and a little map that he provided is attached, showing where those vernal pools are located. Then we have a report that was provided to the Conservation Commission dated April 7th, and that was an on-site vernal pool investigation report that was provided by Bruce Gilday, the wetland scientist. We also have I'm not sure if you have this, but I have a letter from Bruce Gilday to the New Hampshire DES Wetlands Bureau dated April 23rd, where he explains more about what he found on site in the location of the vernal pools that were on the other map. And then we have an email from Patty. The Conservation Commission met last night, and they went over what was found out there by the Conservation Commission as well as the wetland scientist, and recommendations that they would like to provide to the planning board. And that email is dated today. And the last item is, oh, never mind, you already did that. That was Josh Harnett's letter. So that's what we have there.
Thank you. Would it be, Joanne, would it be appropriate or inappropriate for the Conservation Commission to make any comments to the meeting tonight, or to the proposed document we have, or at a later date? What's your recommendation on
I
that?
think it would be appropriate to have David, are you the only one here? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak, David, at this time?
Everything's in the report, I really don't
Well,
have
you'll-
much to add to that, other than we had a good discussion with the applicants last night, and I think we.
Okay, well,
worked through issues.
There were several items that the applicant and the commission agreed with that they are now proposing to the planning board.
So let's, we can come back to that, and if David would like to speak later, we can hold a spot for him to speak later from the Conservation Commission. But is there anything else from you, Joanne, or from town engineer or board members before we ask the applicant to come back up to the table?
I don't have anything new other than this material. We did not receive updated plans for this meeting because this was going to be the main topic that was kind of left to discuss. So if you want me to go over some of the items,
were
I can
there-
do that.
Well, I think we'll withhold anything until after we hear from the applicant.
Okay.
And then you can make your recommendations, or you can bring stuff up, and then they can respond if they're ready.
Did any of the items from the Conservation Committee require more updates to the plans?
I'm sorry, what was the first
They
part?
require more updates to the plan.
Yes, the
They
plan.
will, yes.
Okay.
All right, so, anything else from board members?
I had a question.
Tim? You can sit down, Doug.
I wanted to just see when the appropriate time to bring up some of the points Ms. Seidel raised in her email.
Why don't we talk about them after their presentation of what they want to present, new stuff tonight, and then we can have plenty of time for board comment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, where's yours?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name's Doug McGuire with the Dubay Group. And I am the engineer of record on this project. So where we left off from our last meeting is, I think we accomplished a lot at that last meeting, discussing many different items, but there was one outstanding item, which was a site walk that the Conservation Commission was looking to do that hadn't occurred yet. So the main purpose of the site walk was to focus on the impact area that we're proposing of the wetland finger for the roadway. And that was, the initial focus of the site walk. It was determined that that was not a vernal pool, the area that we're impacting. It was a forested wetland finger, and so obviously that is the news that we were looking for as part of that. As the exploration continued by some of the Conservation Commission members, there was a few pools noted that had some potential vernal pool species in them. That information, as you had in your report by David from the Conservation Commission, was given to us in short order, which we appreciate. And Bruce Gilday, our wetland scientist, immediately went out and evaluated those areas to see, what was out there and what he saw. And so the focus, and I'll just walk you quickly through the area so that you understand.
Hold on one second, Doug.
Yep.
You folks in the audience want to be able to see the map that he's pointing to as well?
I don't know if I can do both on this
Yeah,
one.
I want to see what he's pointing to.
So if anybody would like to see the map that can't see it from where you're seated, you're welcome to move your chairs up by the corner of the table there so you can at least see where he's pointing if you would like to see.
I can get out of it too.
Okay, so go ahead.
So, so the focus area was, as you may or may not recall, the wetland finger that we're impacting is right here in this area. An isolated wetland pocket that was in the front yard of Lot 2, and there was a couple additional wetland areas here that they explored that were on either side. We aren't having any impacts there, but they were on either side. So Bruce went here. He did find 2 egg masses in that, which does classify it as a vernal pool. It's a fairly low functioning vernal pool. It's only about 600 square feet in size, very small, but activity is activity. So what we did immediately upon hearing that result and the confirmation by our wetland scientists is propose some modifications. So this is a blow up of that view I just gave you. This area right here, when this was just an isolated wetland pocket, we were going to say, okay, well, a low value isolated wetland pocket, we won't disturb it, we'll keep the tree cover there, we're fine. Well, that changes a bit if it's a vernal pool. So we are proposing to eliminate this lot area and revise our layout so that all the grading associated with anything in that lot has been removed. So the bigger issue here is that when we had a driveway coming in, that required fill on either side, so there was close impact to the vernal pool area. We don't have an ability to really modify our trajectory here because of our approach from Acorn Drive. So buffering in this direction, we can't do a lot better, but the good news is we tie right into grade, very close to we're basically at grade. So we're not, again, affecting anything elevation-wise here. The big benefit that we explained of the vernal pool is that this connectivity to the surrounding wetland system, you now have a undisturbed corridor. So it is a defined corridor as well because this is a natural depression that comes through here. It's not wet, but it is defined. You have like a 504 contour here and a 504 contour here with in the high 400s in the middle. So it is like a bit of a valley. So any vernal pool activity, however small, could still benefit with the interconnectivity to the other surrounding wetland systems. So we felt that that would be a large improvement. The area of the lot here is completely out of that buffer system and is in probably a much better location. And so our thought was, this made a huge improvement for the potential vernal pool activity that was here. We also had some additional findings by the Conservation Commission, as I stated, on, I'm gonna just go to a little bit of a more detailed plan here. This is a good view of it. So this is the old plans, I haven't updated those yet, so it still shows this lot. But as you can see, this wetland finger here, as you go further in, it is flat in this area, but there is potential for some vernal pool activity here as well. What we talked about with the Conservation Commission is that Bruce is going to do a full analysis, and any vernal pools found will be called as such on the plans. So this one we're already going to call out. He's also going to look at these two areas, and based on what was found by the Conservation Commission, I suspect that those will also, at least a small portion or pool area, may be classified as a vernal pool. The good news is that now with the change of this lotting, all the vernal pools in the vicinity of this project are all fully within the open space, protected open space, and they have large open corridors, which I'm not an expert, a vernal pool expert, but what I can tell you is that what they look for in a vernal pool is to have corridors into natural area. So this area interconnected into a large corridor of which we have thousands of feet of protected uplands and wetlands in this direction, and the very large complex that we have up this direction, no impact in that way, as you can see as we widen our way out through here. And then again, in this connectivity, we're now providing that connectivity with a natural, this is close to 200 feet wide, so you have a close to 200 foot wide wooded corridor that won't be disturbed as part of that. So all of this was discussed with the Conservation Commission. We talked about a few other things. Bruce Gilday, our wetland scientist, suggested that in the vicinity of these areas, like one, with the potential vernal pools in these areas, we have a large size, oversized pipe. That was part of our original design, to provide interconnectivity between those areas. It has no hydraulic benefit because the water doesn't go through there, but it is a physical connection, and we're using a 24-inch diameter reinforced concrete pipe because everything, all the literature says that animals, you know, the reptiles, the frogs, the turtles, the salamanders, they would prefer that rough surface which naturalizes with some moss and other things. So in addition to that, it was also suggested by a member of the Conservation Commission that maybe we explore the option of doing some natural mulch berming to kind of naturally direct them towards this crossing system. Whether it works 100% or not, it's helpful to at least have some channeling, and the good thing about a mulch berm is that it naturalizes, it vegetates, and it can kind of just blend right back into the natural condition. We talked about using straw wattles. Those have the biodegradable netting. That was probably not a good idea, so we're just using natural mulch, and we agreed to add that. We also are going to have some literature signage that kind of calls out, it was thought that it would be an education item for residents that live in that area. They're going to be like basically a laminated sign with high resolution images of potential species that can be in those vicinities, just to kind of let people know what they potentially be looking for, what they could see. And so with those factors, we were able to gain positive support from the Conservation Commission to move this project forward. They were comfortable with the level of, you know, what we're changing and what's already there. I wanted to make it clear, and you know, obviously you don't have to take my word for it, David is here, but they were comfortable with the fact that it was important to them to have it officially documented, and anything that's documented on the vernal pool activity that is found will be submitted to DES as part of our update to our wetlands permit, and to New Hampshire Fish and Game as part of their review. So they'll obviously be aware of it and be able to provide additional feedback as well, but they were very comfortable with, you know, the modification proposed to provide that corridor for that one vernal pool as well as the existing conditions that we had. And they recognize that, you know, obviously you have a humongous area of upland that you're looking to access from your access on Acorn Drive. We tried to meander through with only one very minor wetland impact, and we split the uprights, so to speak, with these natural wetland areas here. And so the thought was that, I guess the takeaway from the meeting last night was that they were pleased with the changes, and if we can incorporate those recommendations, they would be supportive of the project.
Could you go back to the map you had before? It was the small map that showed the 4 lots.
Yeah.
No, the actual,
Oh,
It's
sorry.
A1 of whatever it is.
So we have,
so what are you proposing? You're proposing to eliminate the center lot
correct.
and then replace it next to the 3rd lot in?
Correct. So we always had the ability to have that extra lot, but we physically didn't have enough lotting in our yield plan.
Right.
So initially, we thought, okay, it makes sense to have 3 in a row, bang, 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 and that's why we did it that way. Knowing that this now has a higher value.
Right,
You know, it makes sense.
So-
So yes, to answer your question, the thought would be that this lot, which is just about an acre in size, well over the minimum lot size that would be required, would be the trade-off of having it in this area to be able to provide this full wetland buffer area.
okay, and then you'll provide test data for septic and such later, or how are you gonna do that?
Yeah, well, yes, I mean, so we had no issues with any of the test pits that we had previously. We recognized that you would have to do an additional one because we didn't do that. We are at existing grade here, so we won't have any issues with like massive cuts or having any issues on the setback areas for that. So
You're at existing grade where?
this is all existing grade right
So
here.
that house is 20 feet up from the road?
Yeah.
And that driveway is...
It's 12, yeah.
12 feet higher than the road, you're
So
saying?
494 contour to the 5...
Yeah, there's a big
4
slope
Well, I
on
guess
that
you're a
lot.
couple down from that.
Yeah, I mean, we do have,
508.
we have a slope in here. The idea would be that you would have a garage
You
under
just gotta
on
get,
the-
you
on
gotta
the
get that
right-hand side.
driveway to work, that's all. And it looks like you have contours, but...
Oh, yeah, it's all graded in. And so basically what it is that we would use this as a garage under so that we're not cutting the lot down.
Okay.
So you have obviously a 9-foot grade difference into your garage where you would have steps coming up onto your front access way. But it allows the whole backyard to be fully at grade.
I just
So-
was asking about the fact that that is a lot that's not shown as a lot on your plan, and we don't have the test data for it, so I'm asking you'll do that at a later date, when you supply a new plan that shows that one on it.
We would, yeah, and so, I mean, obviously, we have a few outstanding comments with Scott, engineering comments. When this information came about, I didn't feel the need to rush a finalized plan set in. So my goal would be to get everything clean with Scott, and there would be a test pit and layout
And then
for that lot.
And a well radius shown on the plan.
Correct.
All right,
Yeah.
Board, go ahead, Joanne.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
So there is a fairly large wetland on that lot with the setbacks that are required.
Well, not on it.
Behind
I
it.
mean, the wetland is all behind it. This lot right here, the purple line we're showing, and if you need a closer, I did bring a printout if anybody wants an 11 by 17 to see, or,
I did.
yeah, I can pass that along quickly. This just shows the overview of the whole property, just to kind of help everybody contextually.
Oh, I see, you're cutting it smaller.
So,
There's also a potential vernal pool there. But I guess it's really on the open space lot.
That's
Yeah, so
correct,
the open
and that was always noted, that there is some potential there. So-
You got a big cut on the driveway, but not on the house part,
The driveway's the cut and the house is
Yeah.
like grade.
so, okay.
Oops, sorry
So
about
that's
that.
how you get away with it not being too steep.
So we know how accurate are these circles on this map that we have?
They're estimates.
So,
Mr. Chair?
So, just one quick item, on those vernal pools, and just for clarification, the map that the Conservation Commission provided, those aren't intended to be like what the size of the vernal pool is or where exactly it is. They noted that in those vicinities, to their best ability, that they had, that they felt that that should be explored. They're much smaller than that. And also what I would add is that our wetland scientist, now that we're looking at the same plan here, well, this is what you have in front of you. So our wetland scientist came through and explored upwards of 50 feet off the road center line, and there was no indicators there. So my guess is the pools that the Conservation Commission observed are likely in this area that's way flatter in the back. But we're gonna quantify those, we're gonna locate them, and we're gonna show those as spots and label them as vernal pool, and all that information will be provided to the wetlands. So either way, they're gonna be entirely fully within the open space, in the open corridor.
All right. Dave?
So with your elimination of former lot number 2, then the 3 lots you showed on the enlargement, they become 1, 2, 3 in sequence? I just want to make...
Correct, yes, we would relabel that.
And the size
So I just
meets
wanna bring
the
that out.
open space requirement of
It,
the lot.
it's double the size.
Okay.
So I know it's a slightly different shape, but it's just about an acre in size, that shape.
Okay.
so I get what you're saying, Doug, about C and D maybe being further up off the road. I noticed that C looks like, at least in the diagram the Conservation Committee provided, looks like it could cut across the other lot that's back behind there. Is that a possibility?
Which one C, is that the top one?
Top one.
Yeah, so, I mean, what I can assure you is that wherever the pool that they were referring to is within the limits of this wetland. So it's not outside of the wetland, it's not, so it's in the green somewhere, which means that it's, no portion would be physically on anyone's lot. Some of the buffer may be a little bit here, but our feeling is that the pool is going to be more in this wider area, because when you look at the topography, and I understand it's hard to see here, I can go to another view if you'd like to see the topography, but there's several little pockets of the exact same grade that go up and down, up and down, up and down. So there's little pools in here, and that's likely the area that, that you're getting some of that.
Yeah, so let's just say it happens to be on that lot. I assume that you'll have some other plan to like cut a portion off of that? I mean, like what's,
Well, I guess, I mean, our thought on it is that we're not anticipating impacting those buffers, that 100-foot buffer, and those are all gonna be signed with the signage and everything. So you still have at an absolute minimum, a 100-foot buffer to the pool.
to the vernal pool?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you would have more if it's further away, and then of course, I think most importantly, what I've always been told is, if you have that directional buffer, that's the goal that they look for.
So that leads me to B, which it seems like it's very close to the road.
Correct. That one is, yes.
So what are you doing about that? Because it seems like that's not 100 feet.
Yeah, and there's no way we can do that, unfortunately.
What did you say the area of that one was?
It's like 600 square feet.
So I don't know if this is what they're doing, but I see in there,
I think Joshua's question is, he's not clear right now. Could you make sure your question is clear and answer Joshua, please?
Sure.
Yeah, so my question is, if you have to have 100 feet and it's right next to the road, how do you handle that?
Oh, sorry. So if you're under a certain square footage, there's no setback to the wetland. So in this case,
under 2,000 square feet.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's very, very small. Now, and that's why before, we actually had it in Lot 2, because we had the driveway going basically right next to it, because there is no setback to it. And we said, well, you know, it's just a little pocket, it's not a big deal. It is more of a big deal if it has the habitat. So, for that reason, that's why we're eliminating that.
But you're gonna eliminate the lot, but you're more than likely still gonna disturb the area, that's, right?
Well, if you look at page 16 of the main plan set, you'll see that the lot line for that lot you're talking about does not go into the wetlands at all.
No, but he's saying the vernal pool is right there at the edge of the road, right?
I mean, it's not on the edge of the road, it's outside of the 50-foot right-of-way.
Are you talking about B?
B.
Yeah.
B, okay.
Yeah, I mean, so.
Let's get past C, went to B.
So relatively speaking, so yes, I mean, let me go to the zoomed in version. So is this pool close to the road? Relatively speaking, yes, I would agree with you. It is outside of the right-of-way, which means that, you know, you have, 15 feet or so. This is a 60-foot right-of-way, so 30 foot off the center line, and then it's outside of that. And I guess most importantly, all the natural vegetation on that edge is able to be maintained without being impacted as part of the road construction. So, you know, we're keeping what we can there, it's not touching the road, and no drainage from the road is going into the vernal pool. So from a treatment issue or anything like that, we have a closed drainage system on the road that's collected with catch basins and redirected, so there'll be no runoff from the roadway going to that. There'll actually be no physical runoff at all, even on the shoulder going in there, because there's a very small 1 foot high berm right here, adjacent to the road, that actually would split the difference. So the only water that would be going in there is within the wood line, effectively.
This sheet does not really show the whole picture because you've cut it off almost at the end of that new lot, but we can't really see what's to the right of that where the wetland is located.
Well, it's right on the sheet he handed out.
Yeah, I mean, this is a zoom in of that exact area that we are working on. And I think what I wanted to focus on, and the reason I made this exhibit for the Conservation Commission, is I wanted them to very clearly understand, their focus was the vernal pool, obviously. So I wanted them to be able to understand the context. This is all physically graded out, where the contours tie in, and you can just see the natural vegetation is fully maintained in that area. So that's what we were trying to show.
Any other questions from board members? We're on the subject of this vernal pool business. We're going to stay on this until we get this hashed out. Go ahead, Barbara, please.
I may have read the conservation memo a little quickly from Patty as I was glued to my computer this afternoon. And I see that there was a elimination of Lot 2. Do I understand that the Conservation Commission knew about this new lot? I'll call it the new Lot 3. Was that discussed with them also? Because
Well,
it's not on the memo from Conservation. I'm seeing David Neiman shake his head.
Well, we used the exact same graphics.
They saw that plan right there?
Yeah.
They knew
You presented to the Conservation Commission the elimination of Lot 2 and the addition of additional house in what had been previously larger access to the open space from the road. That was presented to the Open Space
No,
Committee.
I guess that wasn't necessarily the focus, but again, their focus was more, their focus is on the vernal pools. Your focus as a board is on the overall.
I understand legally what my focus is, Doug. I want to make sure I have representations from the Conservation Commission as to what they understood and what you're telling me you presented to them. Did you tell the Conservation Commission, when you apparently reached an agreement that the elimination of the lot was proposed by the applicant after verifying there was a vernal pool and the Conservation supported it, as part of that discussion, did you tell them that there would be a house now constructed in the area that on the plans they had was access to the open space?
No.
Okay, so what we have from Conservation is part of what the applicant is proposing. they got the part that said, you're eliminating 2 because of the vernal pool. They didn't hear the piece about that in exchange for eliminating that,
Well,
you're changing. No, I'm not saying exchange.
Okay, 'cause you did say exchange.
Well, I did,
Well-
but, you know, we can go into a discussion about what the reality of it is, but the applicant, to maintain the lot number that they're going forward with, since they're eliminating the location, they're moving the location to a different spot.
Well, yes, but what
Okay.
I would like to clarify is that, and maybe I'm desensitized to this piece, is that we had always had that as a potential viable lot because it's a full area of upland that's an acre in size.
We don't usually hear from applicants about what they consider to be viable lots. We usually hear about proposed lots.
Well, and you're right, and that's why we have a yield plan that results in a certain level of density, and therefore, we.
I understand that.
We're looking-
My questions were driven by the conservation memo, which did not
Understood.
seem to
Understood.
understand the placement of the new lot. So the new, and I'm just referring, it's still number 3. I'm just referring it to a new lot because tonight is the first time we are seeing it on a plan.
Understood.
All right, so essentially, the lots on what I call the upper, because it's the upper part of the sheet,
Yep,
are the ones with...
it is north, actually,
Okay.
coincidentally.
All right. Are the ones that we're having the primary issues in regards to the wetland access. So let me just ask a question about the operation of these lots, because now we're gonna have a driveway cut to get up. I understand what you're talking about, work on the site with the garage under. Though I'm not sure we'd be able to hold you to that once you developed it based on the current law and the laws that are being proposed. So we talked earlier about flagging the wetlands on this, right, as
Yes.
standard provisions that everybody does. So I can't recall, and I was looking for your administrator's report before I got the floor. How many feet from the edge of the wetland do the flags go?
So
It's a 100
there's,
foot buffer,
there's,
isn't
it's so it's a full 100, but then there's the inner and the outer.
But where do the markings that we
So-
asked to go up go, on the
I
50
think
or
we
the
put 'em
100?
at the 100.
They actually have to do both.
Oh, they do.
Okay,
Oh.
so there will be flags on the 100-foot. All right, so that sort of leads me to just sort of the practicality of these lots.
Sure.
As I look at the 1, 2, and 3 as the proposal, so there are going to be flags saying, go no stop, or whatever
Sure, yeah.
they say. On what is delineated as the lot. And in connection with this Lot 3 tonight that we're seeing, how close to the proposed house, and again, this is a proposal.
It's the lighter dashed line.
Okay, so maybe Doug could point it out to me on that plan, because,
So,
Well, I can see
and,
it.
and then obviously, you know, we can talk about this, but so the intent is, the way this is laid out, none of the 50-foot buffer is even physically on the property at all.
you mean the lots?
On this lot particularly, none of the 50, you can see the line goes, well, I guess if you want to count that.
It does
out,
go
five.
through, the corner on both ends.
So, I mean, we could adjust that, but whatever, if that was a concern, we could
No, I'm
make the
just
lot
trying
smaller.
to, I'm trying to figure out where the flags are gonna go.
I don't know if we should say no.
For purposes of now, Doug's trying to address what I'm asking, so it might generate more comments, but I'm just asking Doug to explain where the 100-foot line is and therefore where
So
the
the
placards
limit
would be.
of, the limit of the tree line that we've shown in these grades would be where those flaggings would be, where your signs would be.
Okay,
Can you
so-
see the lines on the print he handed out, Barbara?
Yeah, no, I can,
trace the
so,
100.
Right here.
So about a third of the lot is the,
okay, so I'm just trying, so how close is that line to the house on lot 2 and 3? Or any of them,
So,
I guess?
Not
I can't remember.
very, it would be, I guess, this is So
I mean, you're
this is
outside of the
50
100.
feet, you are, 40 to 50 feet, and then this is 150 plus feet.
To the 50, I don't care about the 50, I'm just,
No, that's to the 100.
okay, oh, behind it, yes.
Yeah, and then so if you have, this is 50, we
Yeah, well,
have
there's the
60,
line right
70
there.
feet. I mean,
To the
again,
100, okay,
yeah.
all right,
So, I
and what
mean,
about on the lot 3 now?
So I would say this is at least 40 feet upwards to 60 to 70 feet in the back.
Okay, I just,
So,
you
I
know,
mean,
people
yeah, I
like
mean,
to
they're-
make
they're-
back.
There's certainly viable lots, no question. I mean, we wanted to make sure that they'd be viable and usable. And that's not to say, as we talked about, your ordinance technically allows you to have a 15-foot front building setback. We haven't even come close to that on any of these lots. Now, I don't think it would make sense to do that on this
that
lot
way,
anyway,
you can- yeah.
but,
What we're also talking about here, Doug, is that
All right, you answered my question. That was
okay,
good.
thanks.
what's also being discussed here is what's left of that lot outside the 100-foot buffer for people to build their sheds on and their two-car garage and anything else they want to build. And we end up with people building inside the 100-foot buffer after these lots are all developed because nobody goes out and measures them.
Right.
That's why this delineation and the signage is important so that people know where the buffer lines are, and they're supposed to be honest enough not to build in the 100-foot buffers, but that's,
I mean, they are technically allowed if they were to want to.
they have to come to us to
Yeah,
get permission.
right, for relief.
But
on
the
the outer
point is
50.
that we don't have a buffer police to go around and walk through people's
Understood.
backyards. So I'm just saying that when a lot is approved and it's got the 100-foot buffer well within the lot, at least halfway into the lot on that lot 3 at 112, about a third of the way into that lot, we can almost assume that at some point people are gonna go out in there and do something in the 100-foot buffer.
That was sort of my point with these lots.
Well, I was just trying to shorten the discussion.
Well, I was
And
trying to
then
get him to admit.
Did
what
you check the
passes.
buildable area on this one too? Because there are some steep slopes along with that buffer being in there.
Well, from what I understand is the buildable area piece doesn't apply to open space lots. That, because remember, we can knock these things down.
I don't know if that's true.
Joanne, there's a question before the board now as to whether the buildable area in the lot calculation applies to open space development lots?
With steep slopes.
You can't have more, you can't develop a lot if it has 25% or more steep slopes, and the wetland portion of it is taken out of the buildable area.
Wetland or wetland buffer?
Wetland, I think it's, I'm not sure. if
For
it's
standard
buffer.
lots, not for open space lots.
You can't have, but when you go to build an open space lot, you can't have 25% or more steep slopes within your buildable calculation.
There is no buildable calculations for open space lots.
That's what Doug is saying, is that there's no
I'm certain of
requirement
that.
for the applicant to do a buildable area for an open space lot.
When you're figuring out how many lots you can have,
That's the yield plan.
That
you
is
have to
correct.
take all of that
Oh, we're not
out.
talking about the yield plan. Doug is saying that was done for the yield plan, so we
Okay,
have the
so
number.
No, so once you have it
It
from
doesn't
the yield
matter.
plan, no.
Because there's minimum, there's obviously lot sizing by soils, for septic loading piece purposes. There's minimum lot size, which is 1/4 of the overall lot size, which in this case would be 25,000 square feet. Whatever quarter acre is, because they're 2 acre, it's 2 acre zoning. So, if you have a 1 acre lot, if you wanted to get creative and change the shape of this lot and basically make the lot lines follow the 100-foot setback,
Roads don't matter.
you would have still enough lot size there, I believe. It just, obviously it incorporates, the reason I didn't want to do that is that it then starts putting in building setbacks, so now you're really more than 100 away from certain things, because those are the limits of your lot. So, you gotta remember, these open space lots are intended to be small lots.
Yeah, but
These are
they
all
should
you
have a
can use.
buildable area though to do that. That's what I don't understand.
Well, we're
Like,
proving we have a buildable area with a laid out house and garage and
yeah.
yard. That's proving it.
Sure. Go ahead.
Doug, you mentioned before that you weren't gonna do the lot that was there because you were gonna clear it. Are you planning on clearing all the lots?
No, no.
That was a statement I thought I heard. So what is the intention with the lot? Like each lot, what are you gonna be doing on it?
So, the thought is that, I mean, obviously, there could be some variations based on somebody's house that they want, like the type of house that they want. It might change the configuration slightly on the lot, because these are prototypical lot grading. But the goal would be, we're not going to clear cut the entire extent of the lots, and we're certainly not gonna clear any of the buffer areas.
Okay, because, I mean, the concern I have looking at the scale here, especially with the new lot, and you got the driveway here on one side, and you got the roadway, and if it does get even like, let's say, 50 feet in the road, from the roadway, you were saying, there's a 100-foot buffer from there, correct? So you can't disturb anything within 100 feet of it.
100-foot buffer.
Of the vernal pool that was up here on the side, C,
Correct.
right, is very close when you look at the scale. You have 150 feet roughly between the two lots, and the vernal pool's in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
So you're going to the sides, to the lots on either side, is that what you're talking about?
yeah, and like the driveway, I mean, it could be close to that 100-foot buffer
You're talking about the driveway for what is
for the new lot. For the new lot,
For the new lot 2?
yeah,
3.
or 3, I guess, whatever it's called. The new one that you put on that's sideways and smaller.
Lot 3.
Yeah, lot 3.
We need to be specific.
Lot 3.
Well, I mean, again, I was trying to be realistic. We're fully outside of the 100-foot buffer. We're
Of
not
the
looking for any
wetlands.
relief of that. And, this could be slid over if you wanted, 25 feet, 30 feet, if you want to slide that building over. It's possible that they might not have this size house, this shape. I mean, they're gonna know what they're getting into based on the limit being cut, the road's gonna be put in, the lot's gonna be cut, they're not gonna be able to, the buffer signs will be up, and they'll have a buildable area, which obviously the developer, the home builder, they understand where they cannot put, and I believe you'd be required to do a plot plan of what you're proposing and where, as part of each lot development, when you go to get your building permit at the town. So if somebody says, oh, I'm gonna slide this driveway over more or something, and that would have potential impacts, all that would be flagged at the building permit level as well.
I think my point is you're gonna have to put the vernal pools on here like you suggested. You're gonna have to put in the buffers off of those vernal pools on the plan.
Well, I guess what I'm saying and just so, I think maybe you're misunderstanding this piece, is that wherever the vernal pool is, it would be within the wetland system that's here, and we already are showing the 100-foot buffer. So it's not gonna get any worse than this plan shows.
But if the vernal pool is more than 2,000 square feet, is that what I heard?
Oh, no, well, let's just be clear again. These ones, all these wetlands, so C and D on the plan, those have setbacks because they're larger wetland systems.
Correct.
So regardless, those have the buffers on our plan already, the 100-foot. So the only one that doesn't have a 100-foot buffer is this wetland, because this one is undersized.
Is there a buffer at all?
Not by
Yeah.
our ordinance.
Yeah.
Our
Well, there is no
ordinance-
required buffer, but we're voluntarily giving this whole corridor for that reason.
So that's where some ordinances would require, if it's a vernal pool, no matter the size, there be a buffer on it. We don't require that. We only have a buffer if it's 2,000 square feet or more. So that little pocket that previously they didn't know was a vernal pool, at that point it wasn't a concern. Now that it's a vernal pool, it's more of a concern on preserving it, but we, under our ordinance, do not specifically require a buffer.
And if I could just add in one thought, in talking with the wetland scientists, we saw two very obvious options to handle this. So, one option is what we're choosing, or at least proposing to you right now. The other option would be to add the 800 square foot impact to the wetland permit and just permit the impact. Because we're only proposing we would still fall under a minor wetland impact permit, because we're only proposing, I think, like 4,000 or 5,000 and change. This would push it to 5,800, and we could say, well, it's fairly close to the road, we're gonna impact that piece. and then we could just keep the lot 2 where it is, and we wouldn't go around it, we would just, fill that in, we would permit that as a fill with DES. So that was Bruce's option to say, we could add that to the wetland permit, and I said, well, I see the Conservation Commission probably preferring a different option. So that's why we proposed this option. Again, if I wasn't clear on the lotting, I guess I don't see it as an issue because it's no worse than the other lots surrounding these other areas, and they were very comfortable with the plans as they were in that case. So to me, we're not making a scenario worse, we're making a huge improvement by maintaining this existing pool, which for all intents and purposes, it is a low-functioning vernal pool, but it had, typically if you have egg masses, you look for 15+ masses that have 20+ eggs within each mass. This was 2 egg masses, and you have Bruce's report. He classified exactly what it was. So it's a low functioning because of its small size.
Okay.
Joanne, can I ask, so just for confirmation, the DES permit, their permit is for impacts, they don't have any buffer, shorelands have a set buffer that's regulated by the state, vernal pools do not have a buffer that's required, is that, okay?
DES has none from any wetland system.
Joanne confirmed
All right,
that.
we're
Just
beating the
once you
dead.
start impacting it is when they
Yep, I just
require
wanted to.
permit.
Anybody else at the table here have questions?
I'm just gonna say that I'm not convinced that the new lot is better than the original plan.
Well, how about the discussion about how it creates that open channel from that?
Because you're taking away from what was a fairly significant open channel to get to the open space.
You mean for walking,
Before,
for
yeah.
walking purposes?
And,
Yeah, it does kind of lock you in to have to go through the wetland part.
and it locks you in
Especially
for
when that's where we're
entrance through the wetland. And I can just see where the 2 houses on, and it's not like there are flags and fences along all these borders, and I understand that, but the reality is that these lots 1 and 2 are gonna encroach on that middle space. It's just gonna happen. Where the former lot 2 was. It's just, look at how, I don't have the thing, but look at how close the house on 3, what is now 2.
I guess personally, I would say that if you're talking about access, which I wasn't even really fully contemplating on this side, because I think the benefit of the open space, this is more of a natural buffering benefit of open space
Right.
versus the other one, this has the walking trails and everything. But if you're gonna talk about that, this rectangle of high upland leads directly into the largest portion of that wetland. So I don't think that's a good access point. If you wanted to talk about an access point, having one that you could walk past through 200 feet of woods and get into the back where maybe you could cross a smaller portion of the wetland, I would argue that's a better location. So I do think it's, again, I didn't even think of that as an access point, but if you wanted to talk about, if you look at the overview plan, Barbara, this.
No, I understand your point, Doug, but the reality is nobody's accessing that side because you're going up against the Ginger Drive neighborhood.
Well,
It's-
and that's my point, so
Yeah.
I guess I don't think, you said you think this was a better access point to the open space than this, and I'm just saying,
I just think it is.
I would argue,
No, it's just a difference of
yeah,
opinion.
I just think that coming in here through the upland versus coming directly into the largest portion of this wetland system, this is a better way in and over than in, because remember, this is the lot we're talking about, so in and through the largest portion of the
No,
pool
I understand what you're
to
saying.
get out. And then again, a lot of this, we have our widened parking area that the Conservation Commission asked for the parking spaces is on this side, and the goal would be to be able to walk down the gravel path that goes to the wetland, the detention system, and that allows you to connect into some of the interconnecting areas out in the back, which, there's some beautiful areas down below, as you all know, of that system that we're preserving.
I think that you're talking cutting that slope for the driveway. I think there's a lot more site disturbance with the development of your new lot 3 than there would have been on the old lot 2. But I think that lot itself actually gets higher than lot 2, if I look at the contours right. I don't know. But anyways, it's just a difference of opinion. Okay. But I guess my follow-up point to be, it would be nice to have had the Conservation Commission chime in on that point. But I understand their focus is the vernal pools, you got away from it. So.
Well, it was also very much my focus, just because I knew the concerns that they had with the vernal pool, of which we weren't expecting to be a vernal pool. So, we were scrambling, because we just had their site walk Saturday. Bruce went out Monday. I updated the plan Tuesday and then met with them Wednesday. So we were trying to, be proactive on that
Barbara,
piece.
in terms of the contours you're asking about, the lot 2 that they proposed to not build on had 500 contours running through it. The lot they're proposing to move down in the area that you're talking about has a 514 contour
Yeah,
on
that's
it.
what I thought, it was higher.
Okay, I just want to make sure that,
So there's
I
more,
thought you
so
were,
my point is, there's more site disturbance on building on that lot than the existing.
but I think he explained they're going to build according to the grades and have it be a drive under. I don't know. That's just what I heard.
I did hear that, but I would say based on my
No, most
ability
people-
to wield a mean spade and dig into dirt and nothing else,
All right.
Well, that might be all rock.
that,
Well, anyway, it's just that people like their houses up high too. All right, any more questions regarding this vernal pool discussion? All right. Was there any other things that Conservation recommended, Joanne, that you can bring to light tonight? Something about turtle crossings through the culvert pipe or something we were talking about?
Yes, I'm just,
And have the
Find the
applicant
paper.
address those concerns? Was it on the report from Conservation?
yeah, I'm just trying to find it here.
Number 3.
Oh, here it is. No,
I
that's
think
not it.
Doug addressed.
I thought he addressed it.
Mulch.
Well, Doug did address everything.
The signage.
Here it is.
I mean, Doug, you alluded to like a laminated thing with like pictures of, is that what the conscom meant, or did they just mean like turtle crossing signs?
Well, Bruce came in with laminated pieces that he said he had success with in other projects, and
And that's what the conscom.
And that's what they
I'm
saw.
David, I'm kind of looking back to you to see if,
we can do both. The graphics that Bruce had were actually pretty nice. They were, I'm not talking about like a 8.5 by 11 like on a lamination machine. They were like a thick type of thing that had, it almost looked like an informational sign.
okay,
And
just
it had,
as long
like-
as we understand
There's gonna be a lot of signs on this, because we want them to post the open space as well.
open space,
At the
turtles.
property lines, we want open space placards placed. We talked about this.
Yes,
To
yep.
keep people from going out into the open space and cutting for their shed or cutting wood and hauling it for their wood stove. But now we're talking about placarding the 50 and 100-foot lines?
Yeah, I don't know.
This is gonna look like
Yeah, I don't
Interstate
think-
93 by the time we get done with it.
I thought it was just the 100, but I was
I
gonna
was
ask.
just the 100 too.
Well, fine,
Because then
100
it just basically meant they can't
Right.
do
Yeah, 'cause they
anything
can't do
further.
anything beyond
Well, that'd be
that.
good to know.
I agree.
All right.
I think
looked
if
at
you
the
get
regs,
relief,
it's
you
not
put it
good.
at the 50. If you don't, it's at the 100.
I agree.
All right. Anything else from any other board members?
So I couldn't find anything in either the zoning or the development regulations about buildable area for the open space, so that's something you might want to
Really
bring
good
up. to the committee.
note for the subcommittee, thank you.
I'm not sure it doesn't apply, because
That's
it
just, there's nothing
refers,
that's
it refers to the
contradictory
glossary
to
as
it.
far as buildable area, and
Yeah.
because I was looking too when you were, and
There was just nothing
that said
contradicting
yay
it.
or no,
Yeah.
yay.
So,
There is a provision that says the most restrictive applies, so I think there's an argument to be made, but when there's a conflict between the overlay and the underlying, and that would certainly be under that argument.
so this board is this board gonna accept this recommendation for this lot transfer from the existing 2 to where the new lot 3 would be? Is this something this board is gonna go along with, or is this something that the board has a problem with?
mean, if we're going along, I can't say yes or no, I guess, if it can meet, provide test pits, grading, well radius, et cetera, and, I mean, I suppose, in theory, as long as that stuff can all be administratively reviewed by the town engineer to make sure that it complies with
It's gonna have to be on another set of plans that we're going to see. But the point is that if the applicant is stating that they could stay with the Lot 2 the way it was and skirt the edge of the vernal pool versus moving a lot down and to that area that's in front of the major wetlands, which is the lesser problem for this board?
If I may, Tim.
Please.
I like Barbara's suggestion. I do like Barbara's suggestion about keeping Lot 2 the way it was if we were to go along with it. I do like the idea of having more open space between, like where Lot 3 is now. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it.
Well, don't forget the Conservation Commission gave their thumbs up to Lot 2 disappearing.
They also didn't know that this
They
one
didn't
existed.
They didn't know the one was there, but the other one, the one they're proposing, does not have any vernal pool impacts.
Right, I understand that that's,
So they may prefer.
So which is the
other.
lesser of the two evils? Now, I know that this board can deny that lot right out, and we can tell them they can only build a 41 lot subdivision, and they can either accept it or not. We have the right to do that. Just because the yield plan said that they can get 42 lots, this board does not have to approve 42 lots if the board feels it's in, I mean, we'd probably end up doing something else beyond the end of the meeting, which we don't want to be involved with, but the board does have certain rights. If the area that Barbara's describing was supposed to be conservation land access, and now it's being taken up by a building lot, we'd be within our rights to make a decision and reduce the subdivision by one building lot.
I move to reduce the subdivision by 1 lot.
I think the question is there a requirement that they have to have a certain number of lots?
The yield plan tells them what they can apply for. It doesn't guarantee that they'll get that number of lots. But I'm saying, though, that if you make a motion to deny that lot, and they don't like our decision, they have avenues that they can proceed to have our decisions
So the
reconsidered.
The statement in the development regulations is, this is about the yield plan. So through this consideration, the board is determining the maximum number of lots that it might most likely have approved. But the final open space subdivision plan, however, may be approved for fewer lots than the yield plan has indicated. So
Which is what I just said.
the regs give you that, right?
Been like that for a long time.
I just think if that's going to be a motion that's made, then there needs to be very clear reason why that lot is not appropriate. So I would just encourage that there be
So you'd have to,
some findings of fact for why that lot is not.
if you'd like to consider with that motion, continue with that motion, you'll have to have some findings of fact as to why you feel that that lot is inappropriate in this case.
My assessment on Doug's presentation tonight is I'm aware that former lot 2 is going to disappear, and the Conservation Commission knew about that. He's exhibited now a new lot 3. I am not concerned about the boundaries on the new lot 3. Doug has exhibited that the driveway and the building is not going to impact 100 foot. So his presentation of eliminating the former lot 2 and inserting the new lot 3 is a correct decision. I would support it.
I didn't have clarity on one thing, because it sounded like it went two different ways. 100 feet from the wetlands, or is it 100 feet from the vernal pool because it's more than 2,000 square feet?
So any wetland or vernal pool that's over 2,000 square
So
feet.
if the vernal pool goes through here, I don't think we have clarity on whether or not it's within the 100 feet of the vernal pool.
So I think the confusion that you're getting is the graphic that was provided by Concom. Those representations are not intended to, that's like a, hey, it's somewhere in this big area. It's
Yeah.
not outside of the wetland boundary. It's within the wetland boundary.
So I don't know how we can approve that lot when we don't know.
Well, so, okay, let me be clear here.
You'd have to go.
So if you have, so let's use an area like down here, okay? And I'm gonna draw it. So let's say, what we mean is that a vernal pool is a permanent pool located within the wetland area. So let's say, for example, the wetland pool is like that.
Yeah.
We will call that out separately within the wetland system and call that the vernal pool. Now, it doesn't matter if the vernal pool's here or it's this, right on the edge. We have a 100-foot buffer from the entire green area. So anywhere that the vernal pool is within that system, we will have at least 100, if not more. So as an example, let's go close to the houses here. So right now, we have a 100-foot buffer that we're not touching, 100 foot. Now, if the vernal pool is right here on the edge of that wetland, then we have at least 100 feet. But my point I was trying to make, and maybe I wasn't clear, is the vernal pool is likely internal to this system. And if that's where it is, then we would have 150 feet from the vernal pool.
That makes sense, Doug. But my question is there also a possibility the vernal pool was outside of the original
No,
green area?
that is not possible.
And how is that not possible? Because it was winter when you guys did this originally.
Well, so we had, the vernal pool is, it's almost like a wetland on steroids because you have an area that's holding water, not just has wetland activity or physical wetland activity, or soils, presence of water, but if you have 10 inches of water somewhere, you're definitely in the wetland system. So these areas where they walked, they were very much in those wetland systems.
Are you calling into question the delineation of the wetlands?
Yeah, I'm just
And
asking.
let's get right down to brass tacks.
That's what I'm asking.
So he's calling into question your delineation of the wetlands. Is your delineation of the wetlands accurate according to the engineer, or is there a chance that
Well,
they're
of
not?
course, and actually,
This is not
Dave,
accurate.
I didn't call on you. I'm talking to Doug.
so,
Stop being such a defender.
thank you, Dave.
David can defend you all he wants, but you're talking
I
right now.
understand. In all seriousness, the wetlands as delineated was not in question here. In fact,
Well, that's what he's
The con-
questioning.
well, I don't know why.
And I'm just telling you,
Okay.
this is his question.
Okay, well, so I don't know what more I can say. The wetland scientist delineated the wetlands. There is, you're right, in that vernal pool activity happens at a certain time of the year, but it's within that wetland system that it's happening. And the Conservation Commission, when they did that, they know that they were walking to the limits of those wetland systems and finding the pieces likely internal.
Are the
largely-
flags still
I
out
was gonna
there?
say, are they flagged, Doug?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so they were flagged
So
wetlands.
David would know if these areas were in the flags?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, let's ask him.
David,
Well,
were they within the
let's-
limit of the flags?
I'll run the meeting, guys.
Sorry.
All right, so just in follow-up to that, part of the question is that if you go, for example, and I'm just on, I'm probably on the wrong one, but it's got the colors that I like. The yield plan shows the road coming in, the area of wetland, the area of impact, and it shows the wetland on what is the former, sheet 4.
Mhm.
So you see where you've got the finger coming up through what was lot 46 on the yield plan, and you've got all the wetlands behind on what was lot 2 and 3 on the yield plan. So you can sort of tell where your lots ended up going in for this, in this section. So, but if I look at that little wetlands delineation on what I presume would be red, okay. So between your slopes there, right, you have that little green block on.
This here?
Right, yeah.
Yep.
So I'm assuming that that's where the vernal pool was.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Correct.
So how big was that, is that wetland area? It's not 2,000 square feet, is it?
Oh, no.
Okay, okay.
Well, so
That's
the
why
wetland itself
That's why the
was-
100-foot setback does not apply to it.
Right.
The wetland itself is less than 1,000 square feet, and the vernal pool portion is even smaller than that, because there's some poorly drained soil on the
Okay.
fringe of it. So, I mean, it was like 30 by 25 or something. It was a very small area.
Okay. So when you're looking at setbacks, you can't equate the setback from the bigger wetland system to the north of the road to that particular wetland piece.
That's correct. Because it's a standalone wetland piece, your regulations have it that anything smaller than 2,000 has no setback. Now,
And because there's no state regulation on vernal pools, there's no setback regulation for that piece, okay? Because
So-
that's where it starts to get, you were talking about setbacks, and I
I
felt like,
thought that there was going to be a setback for vernal pools from the state, like 100 feet or something, but
there's no setback requirements from DES. But they do look at it and say, you know, hey, we'd like to try to have a corridor, or like, you know, they evaluate, and they actually put a lot of weight into the wetland scientists' analysis of the vernal pool, because if this was like providing the breeding ground of every salamander in within 100 miles, this would be a different conversation. But, you know, it's a very small pool. It's possible, I mean, it's at least possible that it can have egg masses because they were found. So it can have them, and so therefore it's a vernal pool.
The original wetland delineation was done in June of 24, so it wasn't.
I'm going to break a little protocol here. I'm going to ask Dave Neiman, do you have anything you'd like to add to this at this time, David? If you do, come on up, come up to the table here and sit next to Joanne, please. And just from the Conservation Commission's point of view as a town agency, is there anything you'd like to add to the conversation?
Yeah, maybe I could add a little clarification. So David Neiman, Goffstown Conservation Commission. First of all, regarding the delineation of wetlands, we had no issue with that on conservation. So what you see on your maps, the green, those are the delineated wetlands. The vernal pools will be interior within those green areas. The wetland usually, you know, the standing water is interior, but there's hydric soils and things around the periphery more often than not. So I think the setbacks is not really,
So it's fine.
the setbacks are fine.
Perfect.
As was revealed in previous discussion, we were only informed that the lot was being eliminated, the lot number 2. Absolutely nothing was said to us about an additional lot replacing it. So we have not seen the plan, evaluated what impacts that lot may or may not have. It may be perfectly fine, but the Conservation Commission has not seen that, has not evaluated, had no knowledge of it. So I mean, that was a little disappointing that that could have been discussed last night. And as far as the site walk that we did itself, it was kind of surprised. I thought we were, you know, going to be evaluating vernal pools, and there really wasn't a good vernal pool evaluation for this property done until we went out there that day, and the only thing that we looked at was that road crossing, that initial small area, and then the wetland scientists left. So the two of us on the Conservation Commission continued on, because we want to know where the vernal pools are. We didn't have time to do the whole thing. And I just want to clarify in that report, those ovals are just, we didn't have GPS with us. We didn't know the exact point along those wetlands where we were when we found. So we just drew an oval saying we were in this area vaguely to give some guidance to the wetland scientist when he would go back and look. So it's not, doesn't indicate the size of the pool. It doesn't really indicate how many pools, because these wetlands are kind of like clusters. There's open water, then it rises up and more open water. But I will say in the C and the D, we didn't, in the small one, like the wetland scientists, we only saw 2 egg masses. But in those bigger ones, we were seeing many, many, many egg masses. I mean, we would, you know, see 5, 6, 10, go around the corner, find more, and, you know, I would assume that it goes on for quite a ways. We just wanted to look at what was closest to the road.
I don't think I want to ask for questions from David unless it's important, but I think we appreciate anything else you'd like to add at this point, David?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Thank you. You're welcome to stay there for now until. Anything else for the applicant on questions regarding this subject? Okay. At this point, Joanne, was there any other outstanding issues with this application other than this discussion regarding the wetlands portion of the? I think we held this up because we were waiting for conservation to have their site walk, right? That's what we held up?
Correct.
Was there any other?
And I took all of the other items that would need to be addressed, most likely by staff, and put them under staff recommendations for an approved application. So there are probably 29
Conditions?
conditions, not including what the conservation had recommended.
Anything from DPW outstanding?
There was nothing major, if I recall.
Stuff that you can handle administratively?
Everything I had was very basic, that was left. Some note corrections.
Tim, you didn't get a second to your motion, which is still on the floor. We've been discussing your.
Yeah, I don't really,
Would you like to?
I'll be honest, I'm not a lawyer and I don't really know much about this, so I'm trying to like get a good feel as to what's going on. So I'd hate to like, you know, put the town in any sort of predicament. So yeah. I guess I'll withdraw it.
All right, just for now.
I'm not sure it was an official motion,
No,
right?
he does, he said I want to make a
I said,
motion.
I moved to eliminate it.
But he didn't have a second, so it never went forward. But it was, the motion was still on the table, so you're withdrawing your motion at this time?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
At this time, Tim?
at this time, yeah.
Thank you. So the discussion I think that needs to have at this point is, does this board feel that the fact that this transference of lots was not presented to the Conservation Commission, would this be a material issue for the Conservation to require that they see this again? Or would it be immaterial because the applicant is proposing to vacate a lot that had a vernal pool on it and access to and from the vernal pool and replace it with another upland lot down the road slightly that doesn't have any wetlands impacts? That's the question for this board.
I think it's immaterial for the Conservation Commission. I just want to know that the lot itself meets the requirements, meets the lot sizing requirements.
And Mr. Chair, as I stated before, that was my reasoning on this, that the disturbance of driveways and foundations on the new Lot 3 is outside of the 100-foot buffer. And I see no, it was a logical replacement for the former Lot 2 being eliminated.
Thank you.
As the engineer presented, they they might have shown this new lot 3 on the original plan, but that was a yield, that exceeded the yield of 46. So that's why they didn't show it. I accept that rationale.
Tim,
Tim, please.
so kind of kicking around the motion I previously made, right? I just want to revisit. The town wants to, we need this open space thing, right? And it saw there was a deed to the town over it, right?
Right, WD.
Is there like a access thing? I don't know, covenant? Is there an access?
It
Like-
remains open to public use for passive recreation.
Right, but I think, is there like a road frontage, something or other? Is there like a certain road frontage requirement for
No.
that, or is that? Okay.
Just as long as, we've had them where they have a 30-foot easement, the prior subdivision you were here for, we applied a 30-foot easement through the woods to the parcel in the back so that people can traverse that on town-owned land or town-deeded land as opposed to walking on private property to get to it.
Understood. All right, thank you.
So we have a public hearing to open, please, Joshua.
Just have one more question. It's maybe more of a common sense thing to me. Like, I'm hearing that from the Conservation Committee, there are 2 egg masses. It's very small vernal pool. We already know the wetlands off the side seems to be more of importance based upon all the things I'm hearing. Can we allow the lot where it was originally?
Well, we could, but at this point, Conservation gave their blessing with that lot being removed. So it would be troubling to me to approve this with the old plan after we asked Conservation to comment on it, and they commented on something that was different than the plan, and now we're gonna put it back. I just think that's bad business between town boards.
Maybe,
We'll
but
let-
they
we'll
also
let-
didn't
we'll
know
let Dave-
about the
We'll
other
let
one.
David speak to it in a second. Go ahead, David.
Well, I mean, this lot being in here, so close to this was the wetland system that had the most egg masses and vernal pools. So that's a little troubling too, and that's certainly not something that we considered, or we would have had some discussion about that, I'm sure, being so close to it.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Like, what's the lesser of the 2 evils?
Well, I don't think
That's an
David can
excellent
speak for the Conservation Commission. He's only one person.
Exactly.
And that bigger system has the 100-foot buffer that applies to it, so the bigger
get it.
system is gonna be protected by the 100 feet. But I understand that it's,
It's an ethical decision whether we bypass the Conservation Commission's approval based on a plan that they were shown by going back to the old plan. Because we feel that it's less of a conservation issue.
But technically,
We're not the conservationists.
but technically, they haven't seen the new plan.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting at.
So if I could add, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead,
I mean, I
Doug.
think this graphic, this is the one you have in front of you. I guess, to me, if you look at the green, this proposal, as it is right now, is very consistently staying away from the green, relatively in the same manner. We don't have a lot here because there's a finger there. We don't have a lot here because there's a finger here. We don't have a lot here because there's a finger here. We did have this lot, and we had these lots, but we didn't have a lot there. And then now, because there's a piece that we didn't value very highly until we found it was a vernal pool, we now don't have a lot there. So you look at the pieces of green, and we're working the lots very logically around those areas. So to me, I can't see how the Conservation Commission would have issue with this lot located in the upland if they didn't have issue with this lot, or this lot, or this lot, or this lot, all around the peripheral. We're maintaining the same buffers. I don't think it's fair to, to worry about something that they were happy with this layout, exactly as shown. If you took that away, what's the difference? We have-
That's not my problem. My problem is this: you didn't show them a piece of information. You're making it.
Actually, sir, I did show them. I brought these exact graphics with me.
They said that they didn't see it. Though.
I'm sorry that they didn't.
Well, you certainly didn't point it out.
I certainly didn't point it out. It wasn't a focus of our conversation. And then it turned right into the wetland scientist talking about the characteristics of the vernal pool. Now, this is a planning board item. I mean, we voluntarily did this because there was concerns that this was a vernal pool. We're totally within our rights with the regulations to have no setback to this thing and keep the lot exactly where it is. I thought this was a better situation. If you're talking about losing a lot on a project that we've done for the last year and a half with this amount of density, and you're gonna take a lot away, I'd be inclined to keep lot 2 where it is and just move forward. I mean, I thought we were doing the right thing by trying to, and frankly, I don't think it's fair that the Conservation Commission can say, thank you so much for doing what you're doing, and then, oh, well, no, never mind, we hate that because this lot is now here. When you have a lot here, this is a vernal pool, you have a lot here, this is a vernal pool, you have a lot here, this is a vernal pool. You were completely fine as a board collectively, not just you, David, you were fine with this layout. So I have no idea how that can now become an issue.
Yeah, Doug, that's not what I'm saying, and I think we're jumping to conclusions to say that they were happy one way or another.
Well, they were openly happy yesterday about this.
I think it would have behooved you to express to them that you were swapping that other lot in front of that large wetland, so they would have seen it, and they could
Yes,
have
I
at least
understand
discussed
that
it.
now.
Even though you said it was on the graphics, apparently it wasn't discussed at the meeting.
I understand that, and obviously I would have done it differently if I can go back, but again, to me, their concern was that we had a driveway directly adjacent to a vernal pool.
Can I ask a question?
Joanne, please, you don't have to ask anything, go.
So, one of the items in the memo from Patty, based on last night's meeting, had said that Bruce Gilday was going to go back out there and look some more to see if there were any others and mark them on the plan. Does the planning board ultimately want to see that before they approve the plan?
I'm not a wetland scientist. I rely on the expert testimony from the Conservation Commission and from the wetland scientists verified through our department heads.
Okay.
That's how the board has been operating in the past.
Okay.
I don't know, I wouldn't know what a vernal pool looked like if I
So-
stepped in.
So are you, based on what you just said, are you saying that that information from the wetland scientists would need to go back to the Conservation Commission so that they're aware if there are any other vernal pools before the planning board approves this, or would you just make it a...
I'd like to add.
Wait a minute, Doug, you're not
Okay.
speaking just yet.
Well, I had a conversation about that, that's why I want to add that.
Well, I'll recognize you in a second.
Or would you just leave that up administratively for us to take care of?
Well, I think the past practice has always been to allow the Conservation Commission to see things and comment things based on what was being presented as the final work product, before the planning board makes a decision. So, in this case, it would seem that if more vernal pools are going to be identified and placed on the map, we would have probably want the Conservation Commission to see it, comment on it, prior to any final decision being made by the planning board.
So then, I guess my recommendation would be to have this go back to the Conservation Commission, and maybe they can hold a special meeting, I don't know how they feel about doing that, but, so that, and then Bruce has the opportunity to go back out and update the plans, so that they could come back to this board at an
Quicker than
earlier-
30 days.
Exactly,
All right, Doug, please.
earlier date.
Thank you.
Because
We were very clear about this piece at the meeting last night, because I knew this would come up. Because they were asking as one of their recommendations for the vernal pool study to be completed, I asked them, are you asking for the vernal pool study because that will affect your opinion of the plan? And what they very clearly stated is that it is important to them as a commission, and they just feel in the overall understanding of the project, that vernal pools be labeled legally on the plan of record. and that be put on. They did not say that if we found 7 vernal pools or 2 in those areas, that would change their opinion of the development. And I asked that they state that because the condition was not intended to solicit another meeting. It was specifically requested just to clarify the locations. They do want to see the study. They will be legally seeing the study because it goes as part of the wetland package that's already been submitted, that will be updated as part of this. But that was the fact, is that they were not looking to have another meeting.
If you read Patty's memo 5 and 6, that would be consistent with Doug's representation.
I think that,
And I would agree
yeah,
with that part.
if the wetland, if the vernal pools, if anything of that analysis changed the wetland delineation or expanded, then that would need to come back and be reviewed and approved, but otherwise, I don't think that that's gonna change the conscom's analysis.
So based on those statements, then we would not need to send this back to the Conservation Commission.
Okay, but based on the recommendations that we have in front of us, these recommendations are based on a different plan, or a different presentation, I should say, than was made to the Conservation Commission last night.
This board has to decide tonight, or not decide tonight, if the non-discussion of the proposed lot relocation is a material issue to be presented back to the Conservation Commission.
I just don't, if this is what was said, I don't think they expected to see it again. I think the expectation is they want the vernal pools noted on the plans, and the expectation is they're going to be within the existing wetlands, which are already on the plan, and therefore, to the extent they're in over 2,000 square feet of wetlands, they're already subject to the wetland setback. I mean, I don't know,
I'm
and they
talking-
specified what area they wanted this done, as far as the, along the property, basically along the development, not the entire lot, right? Because
Right.
there's a wetland down to the south that nobody's asking for.
And I understand that, except that it wasn't pointed out to them that there would be a lot in a different location.
But it still doesn't deal with the entire outline, so I think the outline's still fine. I think based upon the regulations, they're still okay. I do think that we need a final plan in general that shows everything,
Of course.
right? I do think it was a little, this is my opinion. It just feels shady when you do stuff like that, so you need to make sure that you're upfront with everybody. I'm saying it feels
Listen,
shady, yeah.
it's not being hidden, because here we are talking about it.
Doug,
So,
it might be good
Not
to not
tonight.
argue.
Not tonight. David, did you want to comment? Did you have
No,
anything?
I think Barbara presented a summary of
Yeah.
a half-hour discussion very well. I endorse her summary, and I feel there's no, the change is not a substantial or
Material.
any.
So, for example, I think that if we were to go forward with this, that prior to approval, there will be a wetlands report delivered as to the existence of additional vernal pools. All vernal pools will be delineated on the map/plans, and there's no need to return to the planning board if all of the vernal pools are in the currently delineated wetlands. I mean, I think that's what we're talking about.
Totally.
For the area, I'm not gonna read it, that the conservation said they should be looked at in.
Yeah, I agree with you too, Bob.
So to be clear then, are you stating that the relocation of lot number 2 to become the new lot 3 is not material and we can move forward with this application?
I think it is material to the planning board.
Correct.
So, and I think Doug decided to make that distinction himself rather than communicate it to the conservation board.
Okay.
And I can theorize on his reasons for doing so, but it's not
We'll
worth the
abstain.
time. So, But from our perspective, it's a material change, and obviously a plan would have to be provided that shows the three. I appreciate his presentation as to the logic as to why three works as compared to two. I'm not sure I agree with it, but that's a matter of my preference, and, I'm not gonna approve or not approve, depending on where that lot goes.
Doug, does that proposed lot 3 need to be as big as it is?
No, it's an acre in size, you only
I'm
required
asking
a
you,
quarter.
if it was reduced road frontage wise, that would provide more space to get to that wetlands? Is that something that can be, or is that driveway location predicated on that sideline?
I think what I would suggest is if there was a concern of a specific piece, which, again, I can go to this one. So, well, and
Could
like
you have a
see-
separation between the new 2 and the new 3?
Yeah,
Well,
that doesn't,
I don't-
That doesn't do anything
that
for you?
doesn't do it.
I don't think
Okay.
the access piece is the problem. I think if we want to increase the buffer, I could certainly cut the lot line like that, so that now you have even less physical lot with any buffer on it.
Well, we don't
And
have
we
any
can do that.
issues with changing that angle on that line there. We like them at 90 degrees to the road, which is
Well, and that's why I
what
did
you
it.
have them.
I'm just saying that the only issue I see when I look at the overall, I'm trying to rack my brain as to how the Conservation Commission, when they were comfortable with maintaining a 100-foot buffer on this lot.
We're not talking
I
about
wanna stop
conservation, we're
right there.
talking about access
I'm talking
for
about
open space.
making a wider access way to get to that wetlands other than that narrow spot that is there now. That's all I'm asking about. That was
I
a
see.
hypothetical question.
I suppose, but I would prefer to have the flexibility for the driveway of the lot.
All right, well, that's your answer then, that's fine.
Do we know how close that driveway is to the buffer area, Doug?
It is next to it, but not in it.
So it's about 25 feet away from the 100-foot.
Okay.
And to go into the 100-foot with a driveway, you have to get a permit, or you have to get relief from this board.
Driveways and roads are
Exempt?
from the WO studies.
From the second 50 feet?
Yeah.
Okay, fine, that's fine. So Scott knows the answer.
Okay.
Question on access,
Go ahead.
talking about access stuff.
Yes.
Correct.
To the open space?
Yeah.
Okay.
I suspect the back of what is the back lot line for what is now Lot 2 was driven by the back lot line for what was 1 and 2. Because it all was contiguous and went straight across.
Yes.
If you're talking about access,
Mm.
does it make sense to pull that
Yes.
line in? And that lot line is already well behind the buffer, the 100-foot buffer. So if you pulled that in, there
Makes kind
would
of a walking-
be a walking area along that side of the wetlands.
We shorten
Admittedly
this
in the
up.
setback area, but it would give some contiguous access.
It gives a long, dry path to walk on the open space land.
Same thing on what I think is Lot 4, which you can see on the plan you passed out tonight. I'm calling it 4, it's on the same side of the wetland. Do you want that lot line really going right to the wetland, or do you want to pull that diagonal in?
Happy to do both. I follow what you're saying, and we have
You have the room to do it.
the room to do it. So, and you're right, this is absolutely to be consistent
Right.
in lotting. So I can pull that back all the way to there to give the full 100-foot
Awesome.
access.
And that keeps it off
And
the
then-
lot,
And then
very
this
clear.
piece, we could, either change our angle point or add an additional angle point to just give, again, I don't want to go too close because I don't want building setback encroachments, but I can definitely move it.
You can do it and keep it probably within the 50-foot.
Yes, yes.
Area.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to do anything.
You're not gonna be able to go there
50 foot
anyway.
anyways.
Right, correct. Good point. So, yes, I can move both of those.
All right, we haven't opened the public hearing yet. I'd like to get to the public hearing because folks have been sitting here waiting a long time. I'm going to table questions and answers for a few minutes here. And Doug, I'm going to ask you to pack up your gear.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. I'm going to open the public hearing. It's 8:43. Would anybody who's been quietly sitting in the audience like to come up and speak tonight? I haven't heard any grumblings or yelling or anything. It's been really nice. Thank you.
Hello, Sheila Seidel, 71 Sage Court. You
Oh,
just got
your letter's on the record.
Yeah, you just got that letter today. That was actually sent back in January. But I hadn't seen it in the minutes or heard it introduced on a previous meeting, so that's why I brought a copy for everybody tonight. My concern is hearing from other people that we've been told that all the requirements for this development have been met. And there's a couple of things that, over the meetings that we've heard as Doug has presented, and then as the board has presented, especially Ms. Duffy. The first one being the fire chief, that he expressed some concern about getting water to that area, to this particular development. That is a concern for us as well as far as neighbors, because we've had 2 significant fires in our development alone. There's no longer the Tyrrell Hill Firehouse, so that we've lost that ability to cover us. And the wells that are in some of the surrounding areas of this development, they are running dry or they're insufficient in water production. So that was supposed to be addressed. I have not heard anything since January when that was first brought to the board's attention. So I was curious about what's going on with the fire coverage.
So,
The second, I'm sorry.
We're not answering questions, whoever just wanted to speak.
The second issue is more personal. It is access to off of Sage Court to this development. It is going to be right across from my driveway. And I know that we have an ordinance that requires a 50-foot distance. At the last meeting, my neighbor had brought that up, and he was told that this has been discussed already, and I have yet to hear any discussion on it. My husband has gone out and measured, and it's less than 40 feet from our driveway. So I want to know what is going to be done about that. And the other is about it being a cluster neighborhood.
Pardon, what was your last comment?
About this being a cluster neighborhood. We were told that the developments have to be the same type of neighborhood when you're proposing a development, and these homes are way closer together. The development behind us is on 1 acre properties, but they're spread out, and they're not column like this proposal is. So those are my concerns, along with everything else that's in the letter that you have before you tonight. So I just wanted to
Thank you,
touch base
Sheila.
on those. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak tonight? We don't have someone writing down everyone's name, so just speak clearly so we can write your names down, and that way it'll be in the record.
Yeah, Mary Roy, Juniper Drive. Just a question or concern about the open space. So all the open space areas for this development, the town would take on as conservation land, which makes it open and free to all citizens of Goffstown? Is that the understanding for this?
Just make your comment, and
Okay.
we'll try to circle back and answer questions
Say
later.
anything.
Okay, so it's all open space. There's conservation land that's currently across from my house on Juniper Drive where there's a lot of wetlands. We have people frequently coming through on the conservation land, coming in and landing on private property too. So I was just wondering if this would be a concern for this same situation with the open space.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Anyone else? Last call. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. So I'm going to double back to some of these comments. I don't know what to tell you about the fire chief and water availability for the homes.
I can tell you.
We normally require cisterns for a certain number of lot subdivisions.
They're all
And-
being sprinkled.
And as Barbara said, they have the option to sprinkle the houses. and they are strictly for the purpose of people getting out of the house. Sprinklers do not put house fires out. Fire department comes with the trucks. The water wells you mentioned, the applicant has provided data based on the DES minimum standards for a well, and there was 7 or 9 wells, according to their hydrology study, that were inadequate within all of the wells that they looked at. So for the most part, all the wells in the area meet the DES minimum, and that's the standard we have to abide by. Access off Stage Court to development, Scott, can you answer the question about distance from a driveway with a new road?
Yes, so the way the ordinance describes the measurement of separations between either driveways or intersecting streets. So right from the ordinance, the separation between public streets, intersections, and driveways is measured from the point of intersection of the nearest edge of each street right-of-way to the nearest edge of the driveway where it intersects with the right-of-way line. So basically, where the driveway comes to where the roadway right-of-way is, the edge of that, you measure from there to the edge of the intersecting street. Now, you have a 50-foot right-of-way on, you're on Sage?
Sage Court.
So Sage Court is a 50-foot right-of-way, so even if your driveway's directly across from it, the way the ordinance is written, where you measure, your driveway is 50 feet from the intersection.
Because you,
You draw that out for me, so I.
So the issue is the ordinance
There's a
doesn't,
whiteboard right there, do you want me to draw it?
the ordinance in the calculation doesn't exclude the street. So because the right-of-way is 50 feet wide, anything on the other side of the street would be okay, even if you weren't, even if you're on the diagonal, it's, whether you're directly across from it or on a diagonal, it meets the 50 feet requirement. It's something in the ordinance that maybe needs to be looked at, but if you go around town, you'll actually see quite a few of these across the street from each other, pretty darn close.
I think even in your neighborhood, there's some driveways that are across from some of the intersections,
Right,
so.
this will, in my neighborhood where Cinnamon and Sage come together, there's a house directly across from.
Yeah.
Cinnamon
Oh, yeah,
to
you can
town,
see it here.
But the ordinance was not in place at that time. These, our houses
Okay.
we've been there for 33 years.
Mm-hmm.
how long has the ordinance been in place? Long time.
I mean, we don't know which pieces of
Okay.
the ordinance were in it at that time or not, so.
And regarding your question about the cluster development layout, we don't design the layout, we don't have minimum separations other than we have lot sizes that they have to make. And this lot meets the standards set forth in there. We can't tell them to do something different, it's within our regulations. So, that's that. And regarding the other comment about the open space is gonna, this particular open space is gonna be, has the Board of Selectmen accepted this? Did I hear yet?
They're gonna have to.
No, they have,
They
they're.
have not
they're-
voted yet?
They've scheduled the hearings.
The public
Yeah,
hearing.
we scheduled the hearings.
And-
Our next meeting's on Monday.
Okay. And I'm assuming they're inclined to accept it, there's no major opposition to it?
I don't think we had any major opposition in the
So
discussion. we
if
had.
either way, the town, whether the town owns, maintains it through the Conservation Commission or through the Piscataqua Land Trust, which is some of our other open space in town, it is open for passive recreation by all residents of the town. Only when it's under private covenant with the landowners association, where they would retain the ownership of it, then it would be precluded from other people using it, because it would be, its land is owned by the cluster subdivision, not by the town. So anybody can access it for passive recreation. I'm sure there's a lot of people that abuse their privileges, but we don't police that.
Monday, the 28th is the first hearing.
All right. So the public hearing's been closed. We have to wrap up points and decide what we're going to do with this application tonight.
2 questions, Tim.
So please.
One's in follow-up to a public comment. David, thank you very much for coming up, but if we're doing a planning board discussion and going into a vote, probably go back.
Yeah, I'm
to the
sorry
order.
for not asking you to step down. Thank you.
I was just awaiting further orders.
Thank you, David.
Requests, no orders.
The, Ms. Roy brought up an interesting point about people appearing on private property after going through open space.
Yep.
So I'm wondering about, and this, for an open space development, has an abutter situation that we haven't really seen before.
On the backside?
On the Ginger Drive side.
Right.
So I'm wondering whether other members of the board think it might be reasonable to have more signs
Well, actually, it's a good point. It has to be delineated.
along the border of the open space, just saying private property beyond this point. And I don't, how many,
That was part of the Conservation Commission recommendation, was that where the open space, they specifically said where it abuts the Ginger Drive properties, that be included for the placards. Maybe it's not in this, I had seen that. So I think that basically marking that property line, I think that intention from the Conscom sounded like was more to make sure that folks on Ginger knew when they were leaving their property and entering, but I think that would be the intent being to mark the open space
Theoretically, you have the
boundary.
same problem
It's
on
not-
Yeah, I think
Sage
it would-
Court as well as.
no, it should, I think it should be.
I think it should
be
include
the
Juniper,
other way.
Sage.
I think it should be the other way, because the issue is people using the open space and not knowing where they are.
Yeah,
So,
so you're gonna have one sign facing one way and one sign facing.
well, I think technically if your sign is really on the line, you don't have permission to go on the other side, so no, I think that the developer, the applicant would be responsible for posting signs, and if the property owner wants to put up signs on their property, I mean, the issue is people in the open space wandering into people's backyards. So I think that the posting should be
Facing.
facing the open space, saying
Private property beyond.
private property beyond this point. I sort of see where you're referring,
Yeah,
I'm not
that's the
sure.
opposite of that, because the Conservation Commission is asking for it to be,
Well, I'm
and
not sure I see that in this,
But they're
so I
they're
don't
only gonna be
really-
able to read the sign once they're on private property at that point. So you're better off to have it on the private. David?
So we have quite a few open spaces in town already. Is this a condition that we've imposed on previous applicants?
No, we change our decisions based on problems that pop up, and that's why we amend our decisions and do these kinds of things.
Yeah, so like
But the answer is no, we haven't
No,
done.
we've never imposed that.
I don't think
only-
we've ever had a public comment about people wandering onto private property from open space before, and
Like
it's a legitimate
somewhat recent
concern.
one's Fieldstone, but that was, the PLC got that open
Right.
space and it abuts PLC land.
Right,
Tenny was just out in the middle of nowhere.
there weren't any other
Yeah.
abutting developments.
We had that on Bog Road too, the condo project. We had placards for the open space behind that, or the wetlands actually behind it.
Yeah, that was debated by
It was a different subject.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
So, are we gonna have to incorporate some of the Concom's conditions into the conditions of approval? They have not been done yet, because the meeting was only last night.
I just got this like today,
So
so.
we're probably gonna have to have you come up with a new list of conditions that include, or can you summarize them tonight and add them to the list tonight?
Yeah, sure.
Well, that way it'll save save another fiasco. Colleen, since you're gonna obviously do the motion at the end, so could you make notes? Could you please make notes of the additional conditions? I knew she'd do that, that's why she's vice chair.
That's why you guys keep me around.
Keep you on your feet.
Joanne, can you please look at the conditions, and I'm trying to get through the standard conditions.
Numbers
And as-
25.
1 through 24, I think are pretty standard, with the exception of 19, which I would then move to be, but I think 1 through 18, 20 to 24.
So 19 was recommended by the Concom.
I'm not saying that shouldn't stay, I'm just saying
they're
it's
not. They're not wet ponds, so DPW would prefer to not have them fenced.
Okay, so we don't, so DPW
Yeah.
would prefer
It
not
makes
to.
it harder to maintain. They get overgrown in the fence, and then we have to like hand cut this stuff that grows into the fence, and it's time consuming.
Okay. So DPW doesn't like 19,
If they're
so,
ponds that have standing water, is when you typically would want a fence around it. The ones that hold water, like a
For
wet
safety
pond.
reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
So 1 through 18 minus 19 and then 20? Is that what you're saying?
Right, and then I think 20 to 24 are
So
all
19 is
state.
when you eliminate, yes?
Yes.
And I think everything else in there is pretty
And
standard.
Scott, did you say 25 was a duplicate?
25 is a repeat in number 12.
Okay.
So 25 is to be eliminated, Scott?
Yeah, because it's the same exact comment as number 12. It's the town inspection, the site inspection.
23 and 24 are the same comment too, they don't need to have.
One specific one. Jim.
No, I think
Oh, it's all, yeah,
Yeah,
you're
right,
right.
it's all,
It made its own number.
Yeah.
There was a continuation of
Yeah.
the sentence.
PDF and
Leave that up.
PWG. Is that the last one, 26?
No, that's not what that one is. Yeah, did I miss that?
I'm looking for,
Yeah, I don't,
I'm looking for final plans, as-built plans to be provided to the town.
As-built CAD file number 10,
Number 10,
it's CAD drawings, it doesn't say DWG.
okay,
it
as-built,
says
good,
CAD.
thank you.
okay.
Prior to a certificate of occupancy, we don't give a certificate of occupancy for a site plan. So that's kind of vague.
This is,
Yeah.
this gets a certificate. Each lot, like each house lot gets one.
But I want to know that the road was built in the right place and the drainage is in the right place and it's all where it belongs. And that's this as-built drawing I'm looking for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we could say,
So Scott, just,
instead of,
you could replace 19 with a statement that provide as-built drawings of the approved road.
to the
approved-
town prior to the acceptance of the town road?
I think that'd be something to that. But we got to know that everything's where it belongs.
Yeah.
And
Let's
the
say,
drainage is all done and the ponds are all done and everything are done to standard.
So I think number 10 being that it's prior to issuance of a CO is saying that that's all gonna be done prior to them being able to occupy the first house, which if you say prior to acceptance of the town road,
Yeah,
it means
then-
they could be occupying homes before you've accepted the road. So I think that's why it's tied to the CO.
they,
We allow building permits on binder,
yeah, we
but
do.
not top.
Yeah.
And top is the final, well, top releases the bonds, Scott, right?
It reduces the
No,
bond.
it reduces the
Well,
bond.
it reduces the bond.
The bond is, we hold on to it for 15 months?
Well,
Or
come
a
up
year
with some
after.
language, Scott, that covers us for the road being constructed and the drainage and all that being constructed according to the plans.
Are we voting on this tonight? You want?
Well,
think
I don't know,
there's
I want to
something-
have it ready
I think there's something in the,
prior.
I think the prior to CO is from here.
So
but
while
let
you're
me
working on
confirm
that, we're going to let Joanne continue with the conservation comments, which we're going to add as number 30 and beyond.
Yes, so, the conservation comments would be 1 through 6,
1 through 6?
as shown on Patty's email, with the inclusion of adding fish and game to being part of that DES approval.
Which number is?
That was,
So do you have a copy of this email that we're talking about
Of the Concom comments?
from Patty Gale?
Yes, I do.
From 4/24/25?
that would be number 5, David.
Yes, I do.
Because you can have mine if you don't have one.
No, I have it.
Okay.
No.
So we are going to, yours looks different than mine. Mine's 1 page. Is yours 1 page? Dave, Doug?
I think it just printed with the forwarding, so
Oh,
I
okay,
think,
sorry.
but it's the same
So
email from Patty.
is number 30 going to be conservation comments 1 through 6 in the staff email from Conservation Commission, or are you gonna have to add all
I'd say
those?
you're gonna add
We'll add it
30,
all.
31,
You'll have to add all
32,
6
33.
comments to
Right.
the,
So,
as
yeah.
30 through 36, or however you want to do
Right.
it.
Can I ask for clarification, because there's a comment
What are you
here.
talking about? Stop. The memo, you're talking about adding 1 through 6?
That's what Joanne just said.
Right.
I'm listening.
Those are
not
items
proposing.
that they wanted as part of the approval.
No, 1 is not necessary. We're approving a plan that has that change made. That was
Okay.
based on
So
what
one-
they had.
Right.
But we don't have that plan physically in front of us.
I know, but we're doing conditions for the plan. I'm assuming that.
We're gonna get a cleaned up plan.
We're gonna get a cleaned up plan. And, the motion is, whatever motion gets made is conditioned on the resubmittal of the plan in the first instance, delineating the changes discussed tonight as to lots 1 through 3 and the boundary lines of lot 2 and 4. Is that right, Doug?
Correct.
Okay.
And fixing all the other items previously.
Right, but,
Yeah.
and
So we need
2
to-
is okay.
We need to write these up and not just talk about them so that they're written down. So you're saying that the relocation of the lot lines for lots 2, 3, and 4 have to be included? Rear lines?
2 and 4.
No, he was gonna cut the corner off of 3, as he stated to get to.
Oh,
To
were we
move-
doing
move
3
to-
too?
I'm happy to do that. I thought you said, oh, we don't really.
I didn't say
we like
anything.
it
You
straight.
said, you said you were gonna cut that corner off to,
Oh, no, we were gonna bring it in a little bit. That's what you were gonna do, Doug.
I can adjust 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so the boundary lines of 2 and 4 will be amended.
2, 3, and
2, 3, and 4. And then they're eliminating lot 2, that should be mentioned as part of the
no, I
approval.
don't think so.
We've adjusted the boundary.
Because we're having lot
Okay.
2 on the new plan.
Okay.
So we're not eliminating lot 2 at this point.
And then receipt of the final report from the wetland scientist.
I feel like you skipped,
On all vernal pools.
she's just doing,
okay.
She's doing it from memory.
Let's see, what else?
which is gonna be supplied to the Conservation Commission and the Planning Department. Because the plan is actually gonna have any additional vernal pools delineated on it too.
And it also needs to go with the wetland permit.
Right.
And then number 2, under Patty's email, it mentions the culvert that's being installed, that design needs to be changed to allow for the,
Directional berms.
The berm.
yeah. Okay, so number 2.
Well, you'll have to show that on the plan then, right, Doug, or something? Make
I'll
some
put it
kind
on
of a
the
note?
erosion control plan.
Okay.
Yep.
And are you gonna do any kind of a, detail somewhere on the plan
Yeah,
to
we have
show
a
how
mulch
it's to be
berm detail.
constructed?
We have a mulch berm detail, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then number 3 is the signage.
For the 50-foot, no, for the 100-foot
No,
buffer?
for the,
for
for
the
the,
amphibian.
the critter crossing.
Oh, okay. Because you didn't talk about the other signage yet then.
It's on her conditions, actually.
It's already in there.
Yeah, her last condition deals
Okay,
with it.
number 4
You got the
is
100-foot and
the report
Open space?
from the wetland scientist.
Need 100-foot and the open space.
So you changed when you were talking about number 4, you had said you wanted these signs in a different direction.
No, that's a different, okay, so.
Number 4 we're
There's,
looking
there's
at.
2, 4 has got 2 different things going on, which is, so, we don't need any of this Conservation Commission recommends, because it's a condition that we're putting in. So the soil scientist is gonna evaluate, the portion of the property for more vernal pools, beginning at the property line on the northwest, where it abuts the existing properties along Aiken Drive and Ginger and ends, blah, 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 blah. This includes the open space. And then then 5 is, there's
So-
nothing about signage there.
So you're good with the way 4 is worded?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 5 is noted and
could have been
delineated on
included in-
plans.
5 could have been included into 4, right? Could you
Right,
say
but it's that's
two
fine.
different things? Okay, fine.
Yeah, just leave it, I mean, it doesn't,
It's already written, I got it.
and then we don't need 6.
And then you gotta add in the signage for the open space.
No, Joanne's got
It's
it
already there.
basically on 29. It needs to be reworded a little bit.
29 is open space boundary, but we need the wetlands.
That's a different one, yeah.
So you're gonna make a wetland placard notation.
For the 100-foot.
And where in the conditions, Barbara, is the,
Around.
that says upper and lower parcels, doesn't say upper and lower lines.
No, I think it should say the open space boundary shall be marked on all placards on all boundaries, except the southern ones, intending to mark it on the boundaries with the residences, with placards on the open space side.
Okay, and then the one before that, you said the wetland placards, you want that on all of the 100-foot buffers boundary, okay,
That's where they need to be located.
all right.
And I think we should refer to, do we want to refer to, for the language on them to Concom, or set the language ourselves on
For what?
the 100-foot placards?
I think we've got it from other.
I've
other
never remembered
approvals.
putting up 100-foot placards at this board ever. We only ever marked the edge of the open space, where you couldn't go into the beyond.
No, because didn't we do it for a New Boston Road? We had property that we made them put wetlands
Well, I don't
markers
remember
over.
that. I
Yeah,
apologize.
Boschman's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't remember.
We did it on Lesnick Road.
Yeah, we've had it a couple.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is it the 27, which is approval of the select board or homeowners association documents?
We have no,
Is this open-ended, or are we going forward with the selectmen,
Well-
since it looks like there's no,
The selectmen have to approve it, that's why it
She
was
left it
worded
open.
that way.
She left
So
it
in
for the
case
door
they
open.
don't approve it, then it would be a homeowners association.
okay,
so it's an either or depending upon the board's decision.
I think that instead of required by staff, whichever documents shall be submitted for review and approval by staff, I don't know that they get reviewed by the attorney, but I think that should also apply to either the homeowners association documents or the deed. The open space deed should be to the satisfaction of, obviously, the select board, but,
I think she has questioning with the words as required by staff, Joanne.
yeah.
it's got
Yeah,
to,
I'll
because
change
I
that.
have some, because we've also got a memo from a David Neiman comment on a previous different open space deed. For example, there is a forest management plan that's supposed to be included with those, and I want to make sure that, we have that, because.
Yeah.
So I have all of David's comments on the deed for the open space. And I've sent them over to the attorney, and he is working with the applicant's attorney.
The only
But I guess my point is, I would like that the forest management plan will be submitted to the planning department for the property file or whatever, because we end up with these plans to do stuff and nobody has
Well, I would
this.
wonder, Barbara, that would only apply if it became a homeowners association, right?
No, the deed can require that anything be done by the town in accordance with the forest management.
Okay.
Well, I guess,
I mean, I don't think they've logged conservation land in our town ever.
I think that becomes
no,
part
that's not
of
true.
the Conservation Commission's overall management of open space, which they're working on. And so each subdivision, you know, will have possibly different management ideas or styles or whatever they put in there. I don't know that everyone will be the same, but,
I wouldn't think they would be, but,
right, so the
well, I mean, maybe it
conservation
can
is
be worked
working
out
on
with the
that
deed
now.
stuff, but that needs to be addressed.
All right, well, I can work with the Concom on that one.
Because, right, work with the Concom on that, and if they go to the homeowners, the timber management plan would be part of what would need to be, I would be approved as part of the homeowners docs. Okay.
Will
We all have
anyone,
comments finally?
I think that's it.
Can
I
I
have
just,
my edit.
we had the
Okay.
clarification that, so I think comment 30, the first one you added was updating the plan, showing the revised lot lines of lots 2, 3, and 4. I'd suggest that also include test pit, low
Data.
radius, et cetera, for
both
the
lot
new
three.
lot 3 to demonstrate viability.
And septic.
Yep.
Right.
Colleen's gonna read them off when the time comes. So you can listen to the tape and write them down.
She's writing it down over there.
I wrote them down. I didn't number them though.
That's all right.
Numbers are all
Just
gonna be.
Yeah, they're
Email
gonna
her.
be different anyway because of the
Email
ones
her.
that got deleted.
So Scott has a comment for the approved road and drainage plan. Scott, could you just give
Yes.
that to Colleen or read it into the record?
So number 10, we're gonna update to say, provide as-built digital file CAD drawings to the town prior to the final acceptance of the town road. So that's how it's described in the regulations, so that's basically completion of the road and drainage and everything.
And you're good with it being that late in the process, even if there's like 30 houses already built in there?
It's in here.
Okay.
Because the houses can be
Because
built.
they're all
in
gone by
this
then, you know.
binder.
And so.
They're
yes,
all gone by then,
Who's that?
the builders, the developer,
Yeah,
the road builder.
But
He's
then
gone.
but then at this point is when the
But you're gonna have
the
on-site,
bond is
you're gonna have
released.
on-site inspections of everything as it goes through, so you'll catch
yeah,
the
Eric's gonna
problems
be
as they
out
come
there
up.
every day.
They have to bond the road, so they haven't
Yeah.
here.
Well, we gotta talk about the bond too, what we're gonna require for a bond. Because we have very strict rules now about bonds, so they can't skip out on them like other developers have.
So it's a self-calling, non-lapsing letter of credit or bond.
Okay, we gotta make sure that language is part of the condition of approval as well.
Yeah, and there's one in here about the
What do you got, what number, Scott?
provide maintenance to security. So number 9, and I thought there was another one. The maintenance to security, I think, is for the 2 years after acceptance.
Oh,
Mr. Chair,
please?
just, I don't know if this has come up on any subdivisions. It's a relatively newer item. I don't know if you just want to touch base on this. If a roadway, if a developer is looking to start rough constructing their roadway, they would still be inspected in accordance with everything that the town does. However, there is a state RSA that if you're not asking for building permits, you are allowed, because on a road of this size, for example. like
Keep
if
it
you-
short, don't
Well,
confuse it with more
It's a new
information.
law.
It's a law that basically says you don't have to post a bond to build a road as long as you're not asking for building permits. The moment you ask for a building permit, you have to be fully bonded for whatever's left.
No, wait a minute, is that in place now, or is that proposed?
Correct, it's in place.
The
What's the
state
RSA?
law is in place.
I don't remember it off the top of my head. Oh, thank you.
674-36, Roman numeral 4.
And that states that you do not need a bond to build a road?
674 what? I'm sorry.
Yep.
36.
6:4. I can read you the language if you.
No, that's not, we'll just.
Well, just to be
Roman
clear,
numeral
Mr. Chair,
4.
what it means is that
Thank
like,
you.
if someone wants to rough to subgrade and put their gravels in and put some of the drainage in, they don't have to bond it and then also pay for it. So they don't have to carry a $3 million bond. They could put that work in and then they say, okay, I'd like a building permit. So this is before any building permits for any lots are issued. But the moment a building permit is issued, whatever's left, Scott would work up a remaining balance, which would be sizable still, for the bond of the remaining of the road, so that you're protected the moment that there's a potential lot
What
being
happens if it
constructed.
goes under halfway through construction and now
Well,
we're
you-
left
you-
with the
you-
half-built road in the middle?
You would be fully bonded at that point.
Not if it hadn't started any homes.
That's right.
That's why this kind
You
of.
just
like-
said you don't
oh,
need to
that's
get a
un-
bond until.
It
Oh,
sounds like it's
not
law,
It's
so
not a
it's
choice.
it's not a choice. I just think it's a,
Yeah.
it's a dumb law.
How long has that stupid rule been in place?
Less than a year, I think, or
There
maybe
you
just
go.
a year.
It's in your planning book at page 433.
The intent is just so that it's
I
hard-
appreciate the information, as irritating as it is.
Okay, I'll leave it at that then.
So,
Well,
Scott, you're saying that the maintenance, is it security or surety, per section 5B, to ensure completion and conformance of the road? That's not the bond that we're talking here, so there should be another condition added that a bond be
Well, it
provided.
sounds like it can only be provided once they ask for
Yeah,
COs.
so I think that we'd
Building
add the condition that the bond be provided,
Does the road need a
and
permit
and
to be-
it must
does
be
the
in
road need a
accordance
permit
with
to
the
be built?
reference statute.
do you need a permit to build a road? Do you need a driveway permit to build a road?
I mean, technically you'd need a
There
driveway.
you go, there's your first permit, right there.
Yeah,
To build a road, you need a building permit?
yeah, any road that we have connects to
Next to a
the
town
DOT.
road, you have to have a permit to connect
Yeah.
to the town road. You
Or,
have to
or if
Who do
we
you
connect
get
to
it
a
from?
DOT.
DPW,
Oh, but it's not a building permit.
it's a road
Some other-
permit to build
yeah.
the road.
It's not, yeah, it's not considered a building permit.
We're,
Well, that would be the building department.
no, it's his department. You guys can work that out.
Okay, so that is, the security guarantee,
It clearly states building permit for structures for human occupation. It has that language in there.
So that, when you go to do that, you need to have it bonded, if it's not completed.
no,
It's-
so
it's-
I
it's
was
those
wrong.
little
That-
words.
How about escrow accounts, you got them set up in there for inspections?
I believe that was number 12, yeah,
Okay.
number 12. So actually, that shouldn't say maintenance security, it should just be
Yeah, it's just security.
security guarantee,
Where are you?
Number 9.
number 9. But that's also gonna need to change to follow that new RSA that,
Just make a note, follow RSA and state the number, and you don't have to write it all out then.
So I'd say, yeah, condition 9, just be provide a security guarantee subject to the regulations and RSA 674:36:4,
Colon 4.
and that'll cover
Roman numeral 4 or a 4?
Roman numeral 4.
What have we forgotten, Scott?
hopefully nothing.
We usually forget something.
Pre-con meetings there, drainage maintenance agreement. Actually, drainage maintenance agreement, we're gonna be the ones maintaining it, so I don't think we need that.
They have to maintain it until it's done.
That's true, yeah.
And I'd keep it for, just in case
I'd
it
leave
ended
it
up
in
being
there.
homeowners association with.
Because if it takes 2 years to build it and they don't maintain it, then they're
Yeah.
still liable.
Maybe just be as applicable instead of required? Because it'd be applicable if it is a homeowner's, it wouldn't if it is theirs.
Nobody's gonna pay attention anyway, don't worry about it. All right, what else? Any
I
more
kinda
conditions?
like the idea you guys, or not you, but the contractor maintaining it during construction.
I agree.
so.
Yeah.
And you do know, oh, we gotta post it. You gotta post, the road for, you'll take care of that for during construction?
For winter maintenance.
The winter maintenance and trash removal.
Yeah,
They
that's,
do not pick up trash or
that's that same
recycling on that road during, until it's accepted
That's
by the
that
town.
same section.
Most of that section's included as well.
They're counting on you doing new routes and using it to cut through.
So section 5, well, you don't care, you're not the contractor, but it's in the, it's in the form that they have to
As long as
sign
it
at
comes
the
on the
beginning of
DPW side of
construction.
it? Okay, good. Doesn't have to be a condition of approval.
Yeah, the construction, thing that's in the back here, the pre-construction record
What
that they
addendum
have
is
to
that?
sign.
What addendum is that? Is it
What section? It's
just section 5?
section 5D 1B is the winter maintenance and trash pickup.
Okay, thank you.
It's- That's in the regular body of it, but I'm pretty sure that is in here as well.
And that's until the road is accepted. So don't let the new residents complain the road's not plowed in the middle of a storm. Do you have a deadline, Scott, for the road being top coated? Do you have any kind of deadline
In
for that?
terms of
From
the
the day,
time of
from the
year,
day they start? Do they have 2 calendar years to have it completed or anything?
I'm not sure about
Okay.
that.
We'll drop that.
Yeah. I haven't been here for a new road
That's fine.
in town yet, so
That's fine.
Eric's
All
gonna
the
have
things
to
we gotta
walk me
work
through
on.
it.
You haven't been here for a new road?
No, I was here for the
So-
acceptance of
I'm sure these people would like to
John
go
King
home. We
and
can
we
talk
don't-
about this later.
If we don't have any more conditions, and I guess,
So, do we have any more discussion on this application? Or is there any more problems we have to deal with, or are we preparing a motion?
What were you gonna say?
well, I guess if no one has anything else, I'll go to a motion.
All right, go to the motion.
So and there, Joanne, just to confirm, there are no waivers required.
There was
We
one
already
waiver that was
There was one
approved.
that was
There
already
was-
previously
On- in
approved.
March,
That
we
was on the
approved it.
cover for the drainage
And it was
sign.
cover over the pipe, as
Okay.
I remember.
Then, given that one waiver that has been approved with the findings of fact that the application is presented complies with the
Now,
open.
Raise your hand.
Oh, go
Hold
ahead.
on,
Yeah.
hold on.
Sorry.
I wasn't sure where this goes. I was contacted by some people, and I agree with this. I'd like to see on there somewhere that there's no equipment staged on Acorn or Sage Street or any other egress before 7 and after 5
So
p.m.
what are the construction
Do we have construction
rules,
hours?
if any, for this development?
So they basically follow the town noise ordinance, so they can't begin before 7. And I think it's 10 p.m. is the cutoff for the evening. But I mean, typically contractors don't work that late. But they can't even be like idling out in the street.
No, that's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at, so they
Yeah.
I
can't be
think
sitting
they have
on
to
either
follow-
egress.
Yeah.
Follow the
Okay.
town's noise ordinance rules.
Okay.
And they can't, I would imagine they can't stage or be unloading equipment on the town road on.
Well, they may have to get started the
Yeah,
first couple
so
days.
they'll probably park their lowboy on one of these and then walk the excavator off but they can't, we won't allow them to park it overnight in the right of way.
Yeah, the other thing I had is, when the trucks and equipment are leaving the site, taking the debris with them onto town roads.
Yeah, so we
Are they
require
required
them
in the
to,
cleat?
we require them to put in the stabilized construction entrance and they're supposed to be.
Anti-tracking pads.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be free of any debris from off tracking.
Now, who's responsible for finding for these infractions?
With
Because
our,
we heard
with
we
our
don't have-
regs in the current state they're in, we do not have a fine.
need to redo it.
So that is in the draft water quality standards.
Okay, now how about work on the weekends?
Work on the weekends, I don't believe we have.
I don't think we have any ordinance that
Yeah.
precludes working on the weekend any more than.
We
I
can-
think that's part of the noise ordinance, there's different hours.
Well, you can review the noise ordinance and let us know.
I think we typically ask for them to at least not work on Sundays, I think is what we've done in the past. And these are on like the site plan side.
You can ask, but if it's
Yeah.
not in the ordinance, you can't tell them you can't do it.
I'm just feeling for
Because
the,
DOT has specific days that they do not allow construction to take
Yeah.
place. So, I mean, maybe that's something we look at when we review our regs, with some specific days.
I mean, I just hate to see these guys, the neighbors, they're already gonna be inconvenienced with this whole construction project. This stuff here, they don't have no life.
Yeah, if we don't have something in black and white that we can't enforce, then
Do we have anything about watering, certain
Dust
areas?
control?
Dust control?
Well, that's probably within the air quality standards that are in place by DES.
What, the town doesn't have anything?
I don't recall ever reading anything
I
about
don't
that.
think we have air quality standards. We always defer to the DES standards and things like that.
So Colleen, you had mentioned application as presented complies with the,
zoning ordinance and development regulations.
Are you doing your findings of fact or something?
Yeah, those are my findings. of
I didn't even
fact.
hear the motion yet.
I haven't made a motion
Oh,
yet.
okay.
I've just said that I'm, with the finding of fact that the application is presented complies with the zoning ordinance and the development regulations. I would move to conditionally approve the plan as presented with the conditions. So I'll say 1 through 29 is presented but is modified. We modified condition 9, condition 10 for the discussion tonight. We deleted 19 as a duplicate. We deleted number 23 and 24 were combined. Number 25 was a duplicate that was deleted. We added modified number 27 just for clarification on the association documents. Modification of 29 that the open space boundary, and I think that's also going to include the buffer placards. And then the other conditions 30 through, I believe I counted 37 that we added tonight. Joanne, does that,
I didn't number them.
okay.
But the 7 you added, is that including the 4 from the Conservation
That
Commission?
includes the 4 from the Conservation Commission, the plans with the revised lot lines, in addition showing the test pit well radius, and lot viability for the new lot 3, and deed to be reviewed, that was already covered. So I guess with those conditions, I would make a motion to approve the.
Conditionally.
Conditionally approve the subdivision as presented.
Motion's been made by Colleen.
Second.
Seconded by Tim. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Motion passes. You have a conditional approval tonight.
Thank you very much for all your efforts.
Joanne, I would ask that before you write up the final
Actually,
conditions.
before we do anything, I would like to put on the record that we have approved a plan that has changed without being presented to us as we normally require. And I voted favorably on the motion only because of the presentation to the Conservation Commission and the change in the plan as a result of what we asked for the last meeting. So this was a very specific and unique set of circumstances that allowed me to vote on a plan that essentially I did not have in front of me in accordance with the time period we require for submission. And it would have to be a very unique set of circumstances for me to do it again.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Barbara. So, what I wanted to ask Joanne to do, please, is when you put all these conditions together, Joanne, before you publish them, would you please email Colleen the list? And Scott as well, and Barbara, who've been writing all these conditions down, so that everybody can concur that those were the conditions that were presented without having to listen to the tape?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Thank you, guys.
Good night, Doug.
Doug, can I hear you say vernal pool 10 more times before we leave?
I was trying to slow that up, Tim,
I'm
so,
kidding, I'm
you
kidding.
missed, I guess you missed my cues.
Can you please
Okay.
put in the budget, Joanne, a noise meter?
A what?
A noise meter. We don't even own one, do we?
No.
We
Okay.
need to buy one.
I have one more thing before you
I
leave.
do too,
Huh?
on the table here.
Yeah.
Joanne has given me a document noting that the Bedford Planning Board is going to hear the St. A's plan for the athletic
It
complex.
lives again.
May the 5th. Well, they went back and they redid the regional impact at the zoning level, for which they were cited for not recognizing a regional impact at zoning when zoning approved their conditions. So they've been dealing with the Goffstown neighbor who's unhappy. And prior board to this year's board authorized me to go and speak at the meeting, at the Bedford Planning Board meeting, to make sure that the regional impacts are understood from us to them. And I assume that that carries over to go to that meeting and speak for the planning board. Anybody have any problems with that?
No.
All right, so I'll plan on doing that.
So, in addition to what we talked about previously with this application, it seems like Manchester got, or at least Manchester DPW did not get wind of this.
Yeah, because I see here, it says Manchester DPW asked for a four-way stop sign to be implemented to
Yeah.
address the city's concerns, and the college moving forward with the improvement.
So they asked for a stop sign warrant analysis to be done at the intersection of St. A's College and Rockland. And TF Moran completed the study and ultimately found it met two warrants. One of them is an engineering judgment warrant and the other one was a crash warrant. So Manchester would like to move forward with converting that intersection into a four-way stop. One of those stop signs is one of the new stop signs will be in Goffstown on Rockland on the.
Is that the one that goes behind the sub shop at the corner? Is that
Yeah,
Rockland?
yeah.
Okay.
So, I believe you guys are gonna talk about it at Highway Safety, maybe?
I think so,
Yeah. But I just figured I'd let all of you know that because it came out of, I read the,
That's gonna be a disaster.
Yeah, I don't
That's an
love it.
interesting four-way stop.
yeah. So
Coming
they,
downhill, they're gonna slide right through.
Well,
that one.
and the angle on.
The other one
of
across the way?
Yeah.
Well, but
So
there's
I
already
saw
a
two-
stop sign on the road coming down,
Right.
right? So now
And
it's
across,
adding,
and across.
so
It's-
now we're
right,
adding.
so now
They're just making
Rockland will
Rockland
have
stop on
Rockland.
both sides of the intersection.
That's gonna be-
yeah.
Okay.
They
So-
said there have been a lot of crashes there.
I have the old regional impact notes. I have them. If anybody thinks of anything that's near and dear to their heart, just call me or send me an email or do something.
Does anybody know whether, since they've been saying forever, that they were gonna take care of the drainage issues that the abutter had in Goffstown,
Well, that
that
was
they
part of
ever
the-
did anything about it?
I guess
No,
we'll find out.
I haven't been up there since then, but they were working on a wetland permit to do that, and the amount of time it's been, it should have
Been
been
done?
approved and completed.
Yeah, but don't forget DES is very slow. They gotta get the permit first so they can do anything.
Yeah, there's specific timelines, but as soon as they ask for more information, the timeline starts over again.
Yeah, they
So
start
it's-
over again. So it's this is part of the whole Concord movement to get decisions quicker. So if anybody thinks of the regional impact that comes to mind, just let me know. We have a list already, and we discussed them at a prior meeting. If you want to know the list, you can check with Joanne. I'm sure she can pull up on her records what the regional impact list was. I think I'll see if I can find mine. I know it's in my paperwork. I kept it aside. All right, so that's my little bit. Do you have something else, Joanne?
I just have something quick. So I received an email from Derek that he wanted to share with the planning board, and I think you all have a copy of it. It's about two Senate bills. Did you all get a copy?
No, I don't
Forward
see
that
it.
to us?
I didn't
Yes.
see that.
I thought it was in your packet. So the first one is Senate Bill 170, and that one has to do with, well, it's a few things. Municipalities shall not limit the maximum road length so as to impede development, provided that the proposed roadway or extension thereof complies with fire codes. And then another.
What is our current number, 800 feet?
1,000.
1,000? So so the new legislation's being proposed is to eliminate that, right?
You can have a
The-
10-mile-long dead-end road.
And then the other part of the bill talks about open space, and it says that you can have septic system, wells, electrical systems, drainage structures, and other utilities to be placed in the open space or perimeter buffers of subdivisions as applicable, provided that such open space or perimeter buffers are not wetlands or shoreland areas protected by RSA, blah, blah, blah. So this bill has had a House hearing. Oh, wait, there's more to it, I'm sorry. And then this one says, cities, towns, and municipalities shall stamp and accept changes to plans within 3 days as they are submitted after an initial review, when requested by the town, provided the developer has made the requested alterations. So to me, that means if someone comes in with an amended plan, we have to accept it 3 days prior to our meeting.
Well, if that's what you gotta do, that's what you gotta do, if that's the law.
Um,
Is that proposed or is that in place?
It's not in place.
Well, then don't worry about it.
Well,
So,
I think is Derek asking if we have concerns, if we want to comment on
well,
this?
this is where it
And-
is right now. So it's gone to the House for a hearing on.
No, what is Derek asking us to do?
Share the information
Okay,
and be aware of it.
Okay, I've got a question. Did Senator Murphy come to meet with the Board of Selectmen to talk about all the
Yes.
wonderful housing bills?
He did.
And did you know he was coming?
I did.
And did you prepare information for Derek to give to the Board of Selectmen in regards to the bills, the adverse impact it would have on the community, and where you believe the planning board would be? And did you give that information to Derek? And did Derek give it to the Board of Selectmen?
I don't believe so.
And and was there a request for me to attend that meeting to essentially rebut the presentation by Senator Murphy?
What about the planning board chairman? I never got a note.
And was I out of town and unable to
Or the
attend?
vice chair, who's more knowledgeable of the regs than I am.
And that was all that was requested, right?
Right.
So Derek had information that you prepared for the Board of Selectmen in order to discuss this with, did he bring any of that up at the meeting?
I wasn't there, so.
Did he
I'm
bring?
over here, so.
And so I'm asking her because she prepared something for Derek for this meeting, and I want to know whether Derek presented it to the Board of Selectmen, or if the Board of Selectmen were informed that instead of him saying what our position was, he asked members of this board to come, and frankly, we wouldn't have had any authority from the board to go because it was between meetings, and as an individual, we don't have any standing.
I am not aware, I did not see any emails or requests sent to anybody here.
Yeah.
I was aware that the senator was going to show up. As to what all was going to be presented or discussed, I don't think we were aware of that.
What was the purpose of the senator coming to the selectmen's meeting?
I think he was there to talk about his housing bills.
He was there to talk about generally the housing bills or the bills being presented. I've been out on travel, but I did check my email before I came here, and I did see there was a follow-up from one of his aides on some additional information that got sent over as well. I haven't reviewed it yet.
So was he being forthcoming, or was he trying to get the selectmen on his side to support him?
I can't speak to his intentions.
Well, it must have been apparent when people are talking to you, you can tell which way they're leaning normally.
I think that...
I know you're being professional.
I am trying to be professional. I'm like,
Unlikely me.
Unlike me, who put Joanne on the witness stand.
Yeah,
That's
so...
what I felt like.
Yeah, for real.
Well, she woke up, you see how wide her eyes got?
I think as presented, it was to review some ideas that are coming out, and bills that have been passed.
It's funny because the selectmen don't make any decisions on any of this stuff.
Understood.
So why present it to the select board and not have the planning board involved?
Yeah, I don't
It's underhanded and crooked.
Well, I don't think Josh can speak to that, but I think
I'm not
that
saying him to,
yeah,
I'm saying it
I think
myself.
that we can,
You mean on the
maybe
senator's behalf?
express to
I'm happy to say
Senator
it.
Murphy that the planning board would appreciate that type of engagement that he took to the select
See how
board
nice you can put it?
before they're proposing legislation that impacts our community. We would appreciate as a land use board in the town if he came to us to ask us our opinion. We understand that there is a public testimony process, but as planning board members, we cannot attend those or offer input on behalf of the Goffstown Planning Board without a consensus from this board.
And it probably
So-
should go to representatives also,
Yeah.
because we have representatives proposing bills.
So I think that respectfully to Senator Murphy and to any of our legislators who watch our meetings, we would really appreciate their engaging with us as a board, because our hands are really tied to how we can individually interact. And there are a lot of proposals that come through that then we need to address and modify. And I appreciate that the senator, attended a Board of Selectmen meeting, but it would be great if they came here, or if the town administrator was able to, give us a heads up early enough in time that we could communicate as a board what our concerns are.
I can definitely bring that forward.
Yeah, I don't think it's for you. I think
No,
it's
but I can talk to the
more-
board and I can have
Yeah.
that as a discussion item. And I think that if we see something or know something like that ahead of time, we also can make,
Yeah.
a reach out
Yeah.
for something like that. And I will say this, he did have a lot of good compliments about the planning board.
Of course, he's trying to get us on his side.
He doesn't know anything about this planning board. He's
So-
never even been to a municipal meeting in this town before.
I'm just stating the facts of what I heard.
Obviously, our
We appreciate
reputation
your-
precedes us.
So,
Ain't only the best.
there were some discussions about the impact, and I recommend that you guys all watch the select board meeting if you have time.
Was that last meeting?
It was the last meeting.
So it'd be
A week and a half,
14th.
whatever, the 14th.
14.
There were discussions around the impacts of changes in zoning and things like that relative to like impacts on school. He did notice or admit that Goffstown is one of the only ones in his region that he basically represents that is really at capacity. All the rest have declined.
Well, that's because they go
We
to
are
our
actually
schools.
increasing, according to the school board,
Correct, and that was one of the
Well,
one of the
Maple Avenue is.
that was
at
one
the
of the
elementary level.
That was one of
Which
the
means
points
the
of
rest of the
topic
schools
that
are
was
going
brought
to-
up with the senator and asked, how does that differ from, everything else? You can't say that, all these zoning changes and the planning don't impact the school, when in fact we're already at capacity and it will impact it. And he did say, yeah, that could be a difference. So I would recommend, watching, the meeting. There were some questions from all of the selectmen directed to him in different points of view. And, I will review, and I'm sure the rest of the select board will review what was sent over. And if there's things that we also think need to be passed along to the planning board, we'll do that as well.
I appreciate that the senators recognizing that there is a difference between Goffstown and other communities, that every community in the state is dealing with very different issues, and that local control is really important when it comes to zoning and
They don't
land use.
have- Those
And
words
so
are not
I'm
in their
sure that-
vocabulary.
I'm sure they understand and recognize that what works for one town doesn't work for the other.
That was actually another topic of discussion. The select board did bring that up, is that some of these were taking away local control. So that was a topic of discussion as well.
But it's gonna solve the affordable housing crisis, so we have got
That
all
was,
the answers.
that was one of the big items on
We've
the
got
on the
all the
topic.
answers.
Yeah.
Of which there are
Make
no
the lot-
requirements for affordable housing in
Well,
any of
Phil-
these
Phil's
Make
not
the lot
here, so
smaller.
no one has
Wait, not yet,
anything else.
I'm not finished.
Trying to do Phil's.
You better be finished fast, because I'm gonna adjourn this meeting.
Okay.
I do have one more item before she.
And this,
You don't get one more.
I want to
This-
say something to him.
You're on the edge.
this same bill that I'm just reading to you has
Why don't
one
you
more
just-
thing.
Wrap it up.
To limit road frontage requirements and setbacks for lot lines to no more than 50 feet.
Yes.
So that's that bill. And then the other
So you're gonna have
bill,
a they're gonna have a 2-acre lot with only 50 feet in front.
like a flag lot.
You can't make them have a
Driveways.
two-acre
How do you
lot.
meet your driveway
Yes,
separation?
that's what the new number is,
You
right?
can't have driveway separations, no such.
All right, thank
Okay,
you for that.
this particular bill went to the House hearing, then went to the subcommittee for work, then is now in the executive session. That was as of yesterday, so I don't know what happens after that.
So here's the bottom line, is leadership wants these bills. None of our representatives or senator contacted the planning board or planning, you, the director, or anybody in town about these bills, because this is a top-down agenda. The reality is that these bills have passed one chamber and they're into the other chamber. Executive session means they're voting on it. So there are a bunch of House bills that are now in front of the Senate that are getting voted on. And our senator is going to vote for all of them, as are our representatives based on the sponsorship of the bills. And the Senate bills are now in front of the House and going in front of the representatives. So the reality is that, to be frank, we don't have a lot of say in any of this, because they didn't ask us before the bills. They're certainly not changing votes
That's
now.
correct,
Come
Barbara.
on, it's almost 10 o'clock. Let's
Okay.
wrap this up,
Oh,
guys.
no.
It's correct, and the other part of that is that there is a belief that by doing all of these, that the housing costs will drop.
No.
It's just
They're
absolutely.
gonna make the lot
lunacy.
smaller, and they're gonna build the same size houses on more lots.
I would
all
recommend you
know that.
watch the select board meeting.
We
So,
all know that.
In the words of my esteemed colleague, Phil Devanz, I make a motion,
Yes.
we adjourn.
Wait, I
So,
have
hold
one
on.
more item.
Just forward that
Can I
email.
finish?
Yes. Go ahead, Joanne, get it fast.
This is Senate Bill 188, which is also an executive session. This one is allowing someone who is building a subdivision or just one house to hire their own inspector
Oh, that's coming up, yeah, because the
And-
town doesn't get there in time for that.
and,
Their own building inspector?
Their own building inspectors and plan review.
and the problem that I see with this one is that, you know, where's the liability fall? Because if something were to happen in the future.
Yep. I guess with the engineering firm that signed the list.
I'll
It's-
send this
exactly.
to you
So-
guys, but
Yes,
it's,
please.
it's kind of late to comment on it,
It
like
is.
Barbara said.
Well, that's how they
Yes, that's how-
figured it.
yeah, so the
That's
one
where
thing
they-
I had to bring up is I think it was Barbara, you brought up the note-taking to me last time.
Oh, yes, the minutes.
I did bring that to the
Oh,
board.
thank you.
And the discussion is that they're aware collectively. We talked to Derek. Derek and Danielle mentioned that we are looking for somebody to hire for the note-taking.
And
That's
that's been
what they've been
going on
saying
for how long?
For at least 8 months.
They said we would have someone by this meeting.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for looking into that.
So
We
I
appreciate
will
it.
continue to push on that and find out. I did have some additional questions around the AI to understand, since, you know, that is a background of mine, to find out, like, what are they using and is there something better that we could use?
Okay. All right,
Okay,
thank
we
you.
have a motion from Richard Freeman to adjourn.
Second.
I will
Okay.
just note that we haven't looked at development regs, but we're not going to.
No, that's at the next meeting. But
All those in
now,
favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention,
we
motion
have
passes.
3
Thank you,
applications
GTV.
now.